Hello everyone and welcome. We're live in Maranello, Italy for the pinnacle of Asphalt Esports. 2.5 million of you attempted to qualify, accumulating 70 years of gameplay, which is absolutely insane and beyond me as well entirely. But going into it now though, we've got the final 8 players. Some of them you would have heard of, the usual suspects, but we've got some new blood in the scene, of course, trying to make a name for themselves and an impact. But enough chatter, let's get straight into the action with the Ferrari Esports Asphalt Series 2025.
Speed 250, final English 230. 07 approaching 4 miles, slightly left, correcting. 415, speed now.
Trying to overtake with the airtime.
Jägermeister now with that shockwave going into the perfect nitro.
Great job making sure to get every barrel roll, every piece of nitro they can.
And then headed over to the finish line. And there we have it. Here we are finally in Maranello, Italy to see the final part of the Asphalt Series 2025. Of course, I can't do it alone. Of course not, because it just wouldn't go that far. Of course, I have my main man, Marth, looking fabulous as always. But of course, how are you doing? How are you getting on?
Oh, I'm doing excellent. We couldn't be in a cooler location. We have so much aura in this room, and it's even a really cool coincidence because today marks the 96th anniversary of Scuderia Ferrari HP, which is super cool to be a part of the history in this iconic location. So I'm super excited for the event. It's going to be a banger.
And it's the players themselves as well. There's literally no weak links. It's actually going to be such a close affair. It's unreal to even be able to predict at this point.
No, absolutely. We have an absolutely stacked bracket for you guys today. It's going to be in so many insane matches, back to back to back. You don't want to miss any of it.
Absolutely not. But before we get into the action, the tournament itself, and get the matches underway, I've got a little video for you of the venue and what the players been up to over the course of today. Let's take a look. We've had a little tour, we had a look around. We was absolutely spoilt rotten, but these are the 8 players left standing from these qualifiers. We have Jaeger, we have Dark Hyper, we have Future Flash, Nato, Suchti, Fire, Oil Chat, and Raidi. And honestly, these players, it's like I said before, no weak links, just nothing but strength to strength here. And it's going to be very, very difficult to call, predict, and find out what outcome is going to be as it unfolds throughout the entirety of this evening.
No, absolutely. As you mentioned in the intro, we have some returning faces, which you'll definitely recognize if you've been following esports for a while, but we also got some new faces, but it's not like we have any underdogs this time around. These guys are prepared. I've seen them practice for hours and hours and hours today, so they are hot and ready to go.
Is there any players specifically which have caught your eye? Because we were in the training section. They've been literally practicing day in, day out, just getting ready for this. Of course, you know, like I mentioned before in the intro, this is the pinnacle. But is there any player in particular who've caught your eye and thought, do you know what, could be a dark horse going into this competition?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say my favorite dark horse for this one is Oyocho, definitely for sure. He wasn't quite old enough to qualify for some of the previous Asphalt Series, but this time around, he is here. But we've heard so many rumors and things about him being on the top of the leaderboards for so many years at this point. So honestly, he's my favorite pick for a dark horse this time around.
And we actually get to see him live in person. It's been so exciting. It's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a fair while, but finally we actually get the opportunity and a chance to see, because we have seen a couple of players who make their first appearance and they actually win up the entire tournament. Future Flash back in 2019, great example. Nato last year, Asphalt Series, another great example. Could he have the potential? Well, we hope so, because it will make things even more interesting. But before we get any further, let's take a look at the bracket to see how these matches are going to unfold, who's going to be matching against who, and who will be seen from the get-go, because there's quite a lot of names. Well, you could say some of these quarterfinals could be potentially finals. It's actually that crazy.
No, pretty much all the matchups that you guys are going to see here today could be grand finals. They are absolutely insane matchups. I mean, some of the brackets that we're going to look at are really, really stacked. I was super surprised with how everything was going out. I was talking with some of the players, and there's definitely a lot of rivalry. There's blood in the water, so this could really go either way. But there's definitely a couple favorites that you could pick out, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But let's take a look to see who's going to be coming up first. And like I said before, every single one of these quarterfinals is going to be by me. But let's take a look at how this first quarterfinal is going to go. It looks like we're going to head to City Bonner Bay in San Francisco, and then we're going to head to the Midwest, and then just to finish things off, a little bit of Paris just to close it out. And we're speaking to a lot of the players. With me and you, we have some personal favourites and non-personal favourites. We were assuming, oh, you know, they probably don't like Rome too much, probably don't like Paris too much. But actually, majority of them do prefer, you know, Buenos Aires, Paris, Rome, which is a little bit of a shock to the system for me. I don't know how you feel.
No, totally. I mean, a couple of these newer tracks have actually been really, really focused on making sure that the racing lines are some of the most important aspects of the game. So a lot of the players, naturally, they're into racing, they're into esports and everything like that. So having those really tight racing lines throughout the race is something that they can really pay attention to and take advantage of, especially in the qualifiers. So honestly, something like Paris, even though it's a little bit of a switch up compared to previous matches, honestly, I think it's a really great track to see how these players use those racing lines.
Yeah, they certainly will indeed. And like, you know, lines are very important, of course, at nitro management there. And one thing we have noticed over the course of time, a lot of things have changed over the last 12 months. Some of these players, or majority of these players, with a lot of these tricks, you know, not talking about, you know, the average Joe trick you normally get, but, you know, some of the barrier bounces, a lot of little things here and there to get that air time to collect mileage to in order to pursue further. Normally you would do that if you're behind or if you want to take a huge risk, but it's just a consistent thing now. These players have really upped their game over the last year.
No, totally. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because over the course of these past couple of years, we have seen the meta completely shift. Previously, as you mentioned, something like a rail grind, one airspeed trick, anything like that was considered a really hard risk, right? But these players over the past couple of years have been honing in their skills so well, and some of the players we're about to see have executed some of these maneuvers pretty much 10 out of 10 times. Even the hardest tricks that we were seeing even back in 2023 with some of those crazy skips on like Cairo and everything like that, that's just normal now. You just have to expect that. And if you don't do that, you're going to fall behind.
I saw your fight, like at first he wasn't doing it as often, and then, I don't know, after about an hour or two, he's doing it almost every single time. Yeah, sure, he's a little bit too high, a little bit here and there, but wasn't losing that much time in order to, you know, that's the end of the match, that's all done for. And you can see the first match later on will be Yafire versus Nato, and honestly, as again, I was talking about Yafire earlier, I've been watching him probably about an hour and a half straight of just how consistent he has been earlier. But we will get the full bracket up for you guys very shortly once we find out exactly, but we know the first match will be between Yafire and Nato, but we will get the other quarterfinals underway later on. But first though, we do have a special guest, and we do have an interview coming up very shortly. And it's going to be very exciting as well, because a little bit different from the other side of the racing scene compared to asphalt. We do have Michele Costantini. How are you doing, my friend? It's lovely to see you, and lovely to have you on board.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
First question I'm going to ask, it's going to be the most generic one possible, but if you could tell the audience and everyone at home exactly who you are and how you've come to this point.
I am Michele Costantini. I am a driver for Scuderia Ferrari Esports team. And I am here for this interview with you, and I'm here to enjoy the spectacle of this event.
Of course, in comparison to sim racing, this must be very different for you in comparison. But one thing I'd like to ask is, what inspired you to pursue sim racing, like from the very beginning? Of course, I know you could probably go on for hours and hours on end, but long story short, what actually pursued you in the first place? What got you into sim racing?
Long story short, it's just the love for motorsports, really. I think that's what gets most guys into it. It's just starts off as an hobby, and then you know, if you're good enough, you can make it into the best.
And where was that point when you were playing sim racing and, you know, treating it as a hobby at one stage, where you was able to get to a high competitive level? Was there a point where you remember where you thought to yourself, do you know what, I could make a good go at this?
It's probably when I qualified for my first World Championship, actually. So that's probably the point where I realized, you know, I can make this my job, actually, and, you know, get into the, to race with the best, so.
It's a very rare job indeed, so it's not something, you know, the average person can do every day. So, of course, you're very lucky and very fortunate in that department. And what I would also like to ask is how your training routine has changed since joining Ferrari. Has it been the same, or has there been any benefits since joining Ferrari?
I mean, Ferrari is a great team. I think I'm a little bit more specific with my practice. I have a starting time, I have an ending time. So I'm a little bit more orderly in that regard. But no, you always have to put in the hours. That's, at the end of the day, the only way to get good and to keep being good.
Yeah, this is it. Well, no time investment. It's not exactly going to be no problem, is it? There's going to be quite a few problems along the way, of course. And you've seen Asphalt Legends Unite. You've played a little bit. Is there anything from Asphalt Legends which could translate from or to sim racing at all?
I would say, I mean, at the end of the day, the goal in both things is to get to the finish line first.
Yeah.
So I would say keeping the momentum up is the main thing that's really similar in both things. So that's the one I would say.
And how do you mentally prepare going into such a big event? Because there's a lot of rituals people go through, or people go through the absolute basics. Like there's some players who will go in quite hot and ready and confident. Like me personally, I would go in very cold and just like stick to like what I know. But do you have anything in terms of your mental preparation going into some of these big events?
I mean, I think at the end of the day, when you put in the time and you're confident that you're good enough because you put in the time, I think that's just the best mental state you can be in. You know, if you don't put in the time, you're not going to be confident and you're not going to be good. So just put in the time and you'll be fine.
And do you have a message to any aspiring players who want to get into sim racing or any type of racing overall? Like, you know, for example, I'm 18, I know nothing about it, but I'd love to, you know, I've got a passion for it. I'd love to make a go of it. Have you got any advice or any messages to anyone who's got the potential or would like to get involved?
The more time you spend in the sim, and the better you're gonna be. So that's it, really.
It's like literally the number one. It's like time investment, or that's it. You're done for, pretty much. And finally, what are your plans for the future in terms of your performance goals? Do you have anything in particular which you're eyeing on at this stage?
Not really. The sim racing scene is a little bit. You know, everything comes with such short notice. So just ready for anything that's coming.
So it's like next week, okay, yeah, I better get something sorted.
That's actually it.
So it's basically the esports life, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, Chris, thank you very much for being here for the interview. It's been an absolute pleasure as well, and to know more about the sim racing world as well, because I only know a little bit, but talking to you, I feel like I know a lot more in comparison. So thank you so much, and thank you for being here as well. But for you guys at home, I know enough chatter. I know you guys are very keen and very eager to get involved and get ready for this first match. And just to let everyone know at home, all the quarterfinals and the semi-finals will be a best of 3, with the grand final being a best of 7. So looking forward to that. But honestly, this first match, this is going to be a toughie. It's like I said before, a lot of these matches you would see in a semi-final or final. But with how Yafaya has been playing, he's been playing extremely well and very, very consistent. But the stuff he's pulling off earlier in the practice area, if he plays like that here and now, then Nato is going to have a few issues on his hand.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about these matchups earlier, and honestly, like, again, I was also watching these players practice, and it was insane the way that they were pulling off some of these stunts. You can see the first quarter round here. You have Fire versus Nato, that first lineup there. Then we got Jaeger versus Rady coming down the line. But Nato is 2 for 2, literally 2 for 2, and his first appearance, he won. Sweeped the whole floor. It was insane. So if you gotta ask for a favorite for this one, for me, it's still gotta be Nato. Like, 2 for 2 is unmatched right now. And again, I mean, Yafire was pulling up some crazy stunts, but Nato, the cool thing that I love about him is he just doesn't care. Like, he walks out on the stage, he performs some crazy stunts, and then walks back off the stage, no care in the world. And as a competitor, like, you could be a little jealous of that sometimes, because maybe he got nerves, maybe he got something. And he just seems to have none of it. It's insane.
It is balmy, isn't it? Because there's a lot of players who attend their first event And normally, one of the first things I say to them is, remember, it's your first event. It's all about gaining that experience. Don't focus too much on the victory, because at some stage over the course of time, you will be able to accumulate all that time investment in an offline environment, and then you will be able to, you know, take the gold one way or another. But the fact that Nato just came here last year, won the entire thing, and then won the other event back in the summer of this year is absolutely unreal. But honestly, I would still... He's got a lot of pressure on the guy's shoulders, doesn't he? Yes, sure, he's won back-to-back championships. Can't really complain, can he? But honestly, this is just unreal. And if he wins a third one in a row, I don't know how I'm going to react. I think a lot of us are going to be extremely impressed. But like I said before, I've been watching him quite a lot in the course of the day, and if he plays as consistently as he's doing with some of those tricks earlier on, then honestly, this is going to be a very, very close and an extraordinary way to start off this first quarterfinal.
Yeah, especially with Yafire, there's an interesting story. We saw a couple years ago, as we mentioned, the sort of meta has been shifting towards playing kind of safe, making sure that if your opponent makes a mistake, that's sort of the advantage that you sort of go off of and try to win that race. But now, if you're not taking every little corner the correct way, if you're not taking every single risky jump, you're frankly just going to lose. And we saw Yafire get a little bit of PTSD when that crazy Cairo skip against Phantom Blaze. I saw that moment and I almost took off my headset and walked away. I've never seen anything before like that, and now we see that every single time Cairo comes up. It's absolutely insane, the amount of preparation and tactics and things that these players are practicing over and over and over again. It's crazy. So something like that, you're going to have to execute every single time absolutely perfectly. And so it seems like Yafire, he's going to have those tactics now. He's going to make sure that he can prepare against someone like Nato. But as we were watching the player cam, he's got noise canceling headphones on. He is in the zone. He's got that flow state going.
Locked in.
Yeah,
he's locked
totally
in.
locked in. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it is unreal. And this is why I feel like this quarterfinal is just a taster, an indicator of what to expect. There's some players out there where when they win the first match, you could potentially see them go all the way to the final. But there is some who are just that damn good from the get-go, and that's where things are going to get rough. But it's like I said before, if Yafire is playing just how he was in that practice area early on, that consistently, then yeah, Nato is going to be having a few problems, and it's going to be a very close affair indeed. But it's like I said before, the skill ceiling, when I feel like, you know, we're not going to see anything more crazy or anything more dramatic in terms of what we're going to witness in these matches, I'm sitting in the practice area, and it's just absolutely absurd what I'm witnessing. But it's great as well, because the amount of frolics they need to input into their gameplay in order just to edge by that couple of tenths of a second or whatever, it really is a pleasure to watch. It's an absolute joy, and well, that's why we love Asphalt so much. It's a great example.
And what's even crazier is when we're watching the players practice, there'll be something really slight. Like, they'll maybe scratch a wall within a millimeter, and they'll quit the race and try and restart because they know that they've lost maybe 2/10 of a millisecond. And I'm like, I don't even see the mistake there. But they know in their head, if they were to continue that lap over the course of those 2 laps or whatever the race length is, they're going to lose precious time. They know during those qualifiers, during those practice rounds, they have to nail everything absolutely perfectly.
Yeah, they certainly do. Even speaking to Jaeger, I think it was yesterday, he spent, what, probably 8 to 10 hours in one of the qualifiers and then had to do a further 7 just to solidify the spot. It has been competitive, it really has, and it was anyone's guess on who was going to be able to qualify. We saw a lot of the usual suspects. We saw a lot of names cropping up, which we've seen over the course of the last 7 years in the Asphalt Esports scene, like around that top 10, top 15 kind of margin. But it was so tight and so close. We're talking thousands, even hundreds of a second. It was really hard to call, and it was a shame because I knew that we would probably see the majority of those top players from previous years come back, but there's always that chance where you'll get 1 or 2 who will slip in, which actually have done this time.
Yeah, and we talked about Yafire with some of those previous races as well, and I'm really curious to see how it pans out because he did get 3rd place at the last match go around with Asphalt, so not too far behind Nato. I mean, Nato getting 2 back-to-back wins is really, really impressive, but Yafire's not far behind. And when we talk about these races and we talk about the finishing and all these different close calls, they're milliseconds, right? So it's anyone's game once the starting line hits and once they're off to the races. So I'm curious to see if Yafire can pull an upset. I would consider an upset this time around, but as we get right into the race here, we're back on San Francisco.
City on a bay. Let's see how things are going to crack on here. Kicking off from, I believe, Nato's perspective, but A little bit behind at the moment, but using that shockwave to go across. Not the straightest of jumps, but it will do him justice. But your fire, he's been doing quite a bit of City by the Bay earlier on. And let's just see how he's going to accumulate a lot of nitro here, which is perfect stuff from your fire as he's going to go across. But for Nato, he only gets that one barrel roll, but long as he's consistent with his other jumps, it looks like he's decided to play a little bit safe here. And he just make a little bit of a slip up on that previous jump, which is so unfortunate. But now it's all about your fire and just being that consistency.
That was crazy because your fire took a completely different route than I was expecting. Nato actually took the normal route, and usually you'd see him try and take some sort of risk. But this time around, your fire really taking advantage of the 499P Modificato's insane handling and acceleration. He figured if he can go the railway route, even though it's a lot slower for that off-road experience and some of the other cars just can't handle it, this car can. And I guess he realized that and actually had that trick up his sleeve. We didn't see him do this during the qualifier or practice rounds, and it's going to net him at least looks like a half a second advantage here as we're continuing on the second lap.
Yeah, in all fairness, Nato's not too far behind. Considering he made a couple of major mistakes, he's actually not doing too bad here, but your fire is well aware of how close he is from behind. But I think after that previous jump from Nato, that could confirm it, and now your fire just needs to play it safe and collective and cautious as much as possible. But we know your fire, he just carries on just like it's his day job. He's going to treat it just like any other match, just like it's a time trial, and it looks like he's going to be succeeding with that first victory. Great stuff from your fire, but it wasn't even just from your fire's perspective, it's just self-infliction from Nato, sadly.
I mean, there we go. Now we have it. The first race is complete here, and it's definitely an upset, I would say. I mean, Nato,
Absolutely.
I would expect to come out swinging and make no mistakes, but we saw a couple of those failed 360s around that area next to the bay, and then your fire took that completely different route that I was totally not expecting. Props to him. I didn't see that coming at all.
No, not at all, not at all. And you see what Nato's trying to make a few of those extra risks, you could say, just in order to try and climb back. But against your fire, like, honestly, it was one of those players where if he actually, gets knocked down or wrecks anyway, he will actually close the gap, which is quite worrying. But if you're letting that kind of person in front, then good luck to you. That's all I can say.
You give him an inch, they'll take a mile.
Exactly that. So your fire in the lead in this quarterfinal against the current world champion. Remember, this is a best of three, so your fire, if he wins this next one, then it means he will guarantee his victory and a spot in the first semi-final, and Nato or Sally will be knocked out of the competition. But yeah, it is rough, isn't it? It's just not a way you want to try and go about it. But Nato is going to be aware. He knows it's more of a self-infliction issue, so he's not going to beat himself too much about it. It wasn't like pure skill, it's just a few missed jumps, which happens. It's very, very common here, no matter how high or low the level of skill in the asphalt scene. But honestly, this is where a lot of pressure is going to be on Nato. So try and take this victory on the second race.
Yeah, sometimes physics, you can't really do anything about it, and that race, I think, is a good example there. But again, I want to give big props to your fire there. That was a route that I did not see coming. I think that played a really big part. Obviously, the mistakes from Nato, that's not going to help him in terms of catching up and making sure he can close that lap time, and we saw that on the second lap. We saw another sort of mistake there from that 360, so that sort of cost him it there. I will say, though, I'm expecting a recovery in the second track here. I mean, you wouldn't really want to expect anything else coming from a two-time back-to-back champion, honestly. But that was quite an interesting race. Really great way to start things off here with an actual upset. So, yeah.
Yeah, certainly was indeed. And your fire is, I think, throughout the entire course today, he has been quite cool, calm, and collective. But let's see if he's going to continue that way. He does have the lead at the very beginning, but let's see how things are going to change this way around. He's going to use that perfect nitro surely to go over this next jump. And it looks like he's going to see how he's going to try and maintain this lead. But with a player like your fire, he doesn't play it safe. Well, I think at this level of play now, none of them do. Lovely bounce there from Nato just to trying to get a little bit more airtime, a little bit more nitro, a little bit more maintaining in terms of speed there to try and close the gap. And he almost has done it, and your fire's well aware of that as well. And you've got to remember, with the collisions are on after 10 seconds, so this is where it could get a little bit bumpy here, but that's a brilliant play coming up from Nato.
Double rail grind into the barrel roll, very low on the effort there with Nato's. That was an insane overtake on the underswing there for that barrel roll. What a great maneuver. I think your fire definitely went a little higher than he wanted to, so Nato took advantage of that as quickly as he could, and there he is in the lead coming into the second lap here around this corner through the barrel roll, crossing the line for the second lap.
Yeah, what a way to come through from Nato. I believe it's probably about a second behind at the moment, but we know how highly consistent your fire can be. You can see he haven't used that 360 to now switch over to that shockwave over this next jump. But honestly, Nato has probably extended his lead by a couple of tenths of a second. I'm we'll have to see if you try and risk that jump earlier on, because that was incredible, but it looks like your fire will have to try and make that risk. But my goodness, you're right. The recovery on that previous jump was insane, but Nato's still in the lead. For how long for, though? That's going to be the next question.
Yeah, you can see that extra airtime netted him a couple milliseconds of advantage trying to catch up against Nato here, but that was an insane move. Really props to Fire again for recovering that. I would have crashed and gone 20 feet in the other direction, that's for sure. But we're coming close to the end of the second lap here, and it's just nothing in the rearview mirror here for Nato. He's got this one in the bag. I told you I was expecting a recovery, and we didn't get anything different here.
Yeah, that was an insane recovery. Honestly, that was absurd, but lovely to see. It will mean that Nato will be able to take that second race victory, and it's one apiece. But honestly, that jump was one of the very, very few jumps he would have to at least confirm, risk, and succeed in order to overtake. But the fact he actually managed that is unreal. Really, really is. It's not even like the easiest trick, of course, to get away with.
Yeah, I mean, and especially as we saw in that first lap, that first go about there, we saw the 360s were giving these players a little bit of a problem. We saw in that second lap, looks like, I think it was Fire tried to do that floaty drift, trying to execute that 360 in the opposite direction before you go around a corner. That'll actually lift your front tire up just a little bit, so you get a little bit of air time, a little bit of bouncy action, making sure all four tires don't hit the pavement. He was trying to do that, and I think he went in the opposite direction, which, again, you know, like you mentioned, lost him probably about a quarter of a second or so.
Yeah, it all adds up in the end, though. But honestly, that was just insane. It really was. And we're going to a firm, I believe, in Paris as well. We'll double check with the track shortly. But yeah, it's like we said before, this is only the first quarterfinal. This is what you got to remember, guys at home. And I hope you guys in chat are already getting excited for this next one. It's going to be the final race between Fire and Nato to see exactly who's going to come out trumps and go into this next semi-final. You've got to remember, this is the current world champion here. And if he gets knocked out in that first quarterfinal, that is unreal. It really is. And it's like I said before, there was no weak links in this competition. It's literally just all gas, no break here.
Absolutely. This will be an upset if he takes this race. I mean, we already saw a little bit of that upset in that first race. Again, I was expecting Nato to make a quick and speedy recovery there, as we saw. But here we are going into Paris. First best of three finals here between Nato and Fire. Who's going to take it here as we go into the straightaway under the Eiffel Tower?
Yeah, both that double nitro into the second gear. Nice farewell coming up for them as well, but it's going to be Fire with the lead, so we'll have to see what other chicks of the trade Nato has up his sleeve. But so far, so good at the moment. As Fire now just going round that roundabout into that double nitro into the perfect, both using that brake nitro chip to get around this next corner. But you can see Nato talk even a little bit here and there to try and get that max speed into the perfect nitro. But so far, we know that with this portion of the track, it's very slow-winded. There isn't really anything you can do apart from getting the better line. So we'll have to see how this next segment goes.
Yeah, and you'll notice on this track, especially with Paris, you're going to notice that some of these ramps aren't as apparent as they are on a couple other tracks. And what you'll notice is these racing lines are going to be tighter than ever. That is the most important part of Paris. As we were mentioning earlier, some of these newer tracks to Asphalt Legends, both beautiful and also focus a little more on the racing lines, especially with this 499P Modificata. That's going to be really easy to take for these players, but you'll see some of those slight differences. You can see Nato trying to take a little bit of an inside line compared to Fire. That's going to gain ever so slightly a little bit of milliseconds over Fire, but he still has this advantage in the bag. Honestly, it looks like he's not giving it up anytime soon as we near our second lap.
Certainly is indeed, as we're getting close here towards that end portion of the first lap, and we'll have to see what difference it can make. But this is the problem with this track. There isn't too many tricks you can do like on the previous maps, which gives you, that half a second gap closure or anything like that. It's all about the consistency coming out from Fire. But he's been playing extremely well. Great nitro management, great refinements, great lines as well. And you can see Nato is just trying to figure out a way to close it. But he has done a little bit, maybe about a tenth or two of a second. But apart from that, though, he's still got plenty of time to go, but if he's going to close the gap even further, we'll have to see.
Yeah, a little bit wide on that last corner there. Fire, you can see just ever so slightly pulling ahead of Nato there as we go into the metro. This is actually an interesting area because the subways that pass by will actually inflict a little bit of physics on your car. It'll push you left or right depending on where it goes. So it's really important that these players keep that into consideration. You don't want to get smacked into the barrier or anything like that, but it looks like Fire managing to keep this lead, but it has closed ever so slightly. We're getting really close to the final of this lap, and this would be a huge upset if Fire manages to take it. So Nato has to do something absolutely insane, or Fire has to make a big mistake. But honestly, I don't think he's gonna. He's looking like he sees this finish line right in his mind. He's going to take it.
There's nothing left he can do as we go across the final bend, and it looks like Fire will be able to take it and take victory 2-1 in this first quarterfinal. Obviously, now the biggest upset, and it's only the first match.
That's it. That's the upset. Honestly, of the tournament, I would say that's probably the biggest upset we're going to see. Third place from last time takes down first place. He was bound to get revenge at some point. Nato, oh man, if you went 3 for 3, that would have been insane. But we mentioned it's a single elimination bracket, so there's no second chances for these players. That is a quarterfinal elimination here. Third place taking down first place last time. And what an excellent strategy from Yafire. Congrats to him.
That single elimination for you, it is brutal. You've only got one lifeline. If you don't take it, then that is going to be it. And speaking of the devil, we do have the man himself. Here you go, mate. Have one of these.
Hi, hello.
I will say this, mate. I was just saying it on stream earlier. You've been I've been watching you for like most of the practice session, and you've been looking chill, calm, and collective. And I was saying to you earlier, if you play like how you did back in the practice session now, you're looking good. You could be going, well, could be going far. But how do you feel like you personally performed in that entire series?
Well, always chill, always composed. Gotta do what you gotta do. Clean lines. Yeah, didn't perform like great at the previous track.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything went well with the corners. Everything's fine.
And
Gotta stay chill.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, you probably need to, well, you're chill, but your heart's probably racing a little bit.
It is.
BPM of 180.
Yeah.
So with the second race, what thoughts do you feel like you could have rectified going into that race, especially after the first lap?
Well, sorry.
I know, it's fine. It's, on all
Adrenaline
fairness,
rush,
it's
yeah.
probably like a bit of a blur as well.
Yeah, it is, man.
But
like,
yeah, is there any improvements you could have made in that second race?
that second race, definitely. Like that barrel, for example. If I were a little bit more to the left, sometimes you just don't see the particles right, and everything's blurry, like you say. But yeah, mistakes happen, and gotta move forward.
These things happen, but it was only one race, it was two, so you're fine. So you'll be going into the next semi-final, or the first semi-final, so to speak. But you obviously know the matchup in the first quarter-final. Do you feel like this is a bracket where you could potentially make it to the final? Do you feel like you've got a good bracket at the moment, or is it still potentially riding the struggle bus?
Yeah. Everybody's got a chance. Stakes are high, so, like everyone can do their best. The car feels good, and we're moving on.
Yeah, you're looking good, you're feeling good, even though inside it's probably a little bit different, but externally you're looking pretty damn good at the moment. But congratulations, mate, winning that first quarter-final 2-1, as we'll go into our second quarter-final very shortly, and it is against the likes of Jaeger and Rady, which is going to be a very interesting matchup just overall, because with Rady is a newcomer to the scene who's looking to try and make his mark against Jaeger, of course, a veteran, especially from the Android scene.
Absolutely, yeah. The next matchups are going to be crazy. I mean, this is one that I've been looking forward to for a very long time, because I saw those two players that qualified, and I was like, this is going to be a spicy match. Jaeger especially, one of the absolute veterans of the scene as well. So, yeah, that's going to be exciting to watch.
Yeah, it really will be indeed. With Jaeger is, multiple-time Android champion. He's been around the block. He's been around the bush quite a few times here, and it's now just to make his mark against Rady. But we don't really know too much about him, so it's going to be quite interesting to see how exactly he's going to fare up. But it's like I said before, Nato, we didn't know anything about him. And then when we witnessed how good he was on that the first time he actually attended an event last year, made a massive, massive impact. So with Rady, we have to see what he can really bring to the table. I'm seen him practice too much, in all fairness, going into the competition. So that's why I'm actually a little bit more curious to see exactly how things could unfold.
No, absolutely, yeah. This is his first finals appearance going up against the absolute juggernaut of Jaeger. But we already saw an upset. I wouldn't be surprised if we see two in a row. That would be really fun to watch. So yeah, one of the races that I'm looking forward to for sure. This is, we've already said this a million times, this is a stacked bracket. So honestly, anyone can take it, like we already saw this upset between Yafire and Nato. So, I mean, we talk about Jägermeister, he has had so many years of history throughout this game, so many finalist appearances, couple of wins as well. This guy is a force to be reckoned with for sure.
I'm still wondering, going back to that first quarterfinal, if it wasn't Paris, if it was something else, giving it a little bit more skill in terms of like the jumps and the advantage you could take to close the gap. Because we know with Paris, is, with a lot of tracks in particular on Paris, there's only so much you can do. Like, it's a matter of hoping that your opponent just has a low level of consistency in terms of his lines. But honestly, Yafire, it is difficult to find someone like him to find any kind of dents in the armor. It was like there was no dents. It was spotless.
No,
pretty
it was
much.
crazy. He took the exact same strat as Nato did for the past couple of series. He just had no care in the world. He just knew exactly what he needed to do, and he got some insane strats. Like I saw that couple of that first race, especially on I think it was San Francisco, with that crazy switch of the route going on the train route. You actually just completely would never expect that. That's a route that players normally don't take because you just don't get any airtime. And of course, in Asphalt Legends, airtime is really, really crucial. You get that 30% top speed buff, so it's really important that you're always staying in the air. You always see these players do those rail grinds, those hops over different objects and whatnot. So the fact that he knew the 499P Modificata, the handling and acceleration could handle it, that was an insane decision. And I'm actually was wondering, like, he's got to have had that cooking for a while now.
It was crazy, but a little bit different now here, Martha, as we head into our second quarterfinal. If you're guys joining us, welcome. Welcome to the show. Of course, if you have just joined us, we do have codes throughout the entirety of the broadcast. So you're looking for those credits, those tokens, those blueprints, you name it, those codes will come up shortly. I'll probably get my phone underneath the desk and try and copy and paste it, you know, maybe. I don't know if I get a chance. I'll have to see. But yeah, it's all going to come out throughout the broadcast. So make sure you keep an eye on chat and keep an eye out for those codes as well. But if we can actually come back to that graphic with the tracks as well, that would be fantastic, because we need to really dive in and see what we could expect going into this. Have you actually seen Rady practice much at all? Because I only saw like a small glimpse, but I don't know what your thoughts and opinions are of it.
Yeah, I saw him practicing on Himalayas, and that's actually going to be the first track. I do also want to talk about Jägermeister, as you can see on screen, 24 years old, from Poland, and his favorite Ferrari is a Ferrari 458, and I got to say, what a beautiful car, what an amazing choice. I got a soft spot in my heart for that naturally aspirated V8 from the 458 generation. That was an awesome car, but this guy is just an absolute legend. But I did see Rady practicing a little bit as we go to the camera here with him on Himalayas previously, and that was actually a really controversial track between these players because the Ferrari 499P Modificata has so much downforce and it's so good at handling that some of those rail jumps, some of those areas where you want to pop your tires up can be a little bit unstable sometimes. But yeah, so this guy is going to be prepared for all of these different jumps, all these different tricks that these players pull off. So I'm curious to see how they handle Himalayas. Again, that's the first track coming up here between Jaeger and Rady. Yeah.
It is tempting to go back to his old name. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I did it. Yeah.
I'll tell you now. I will say it at least 2-3 times maybe. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. It is very difficult when someone's been a certain alias for like 5 years, and then you've got to make that transition. You're just like,
yep.
Yeah, I've made a mistake there.
A little bit of throwback for you guys.
I'm sure he
you know?
won't mind. It's all right. Well, he was probably thinking, oh, we'll let him off. It's fine. But yeah, no, I am very, very excited to see how Rady's going to play this, honestly. I've only seen a little bit about him. I only know too much about him now. Very young player from Slovakia, 20, I believe. So still got plenty of life in him to make a start here in the Asphalt Esports scene and to see exactly how things are going to go. And he does feel a lot of pressure. I spoke to him because I haven't really seen him much in game. I've been talking to him a little bit out of game. He did say, yeah, he feels very pressured. And what I was saying to him was, you know, what you got to understand is this is your first event. Don't feel the pressure. It's more the other players losing to you or the potential chance of losing to you. It's going to cause a lot of pressure for them. But it's perfectly understandable. When you've been playing online at home all this time and you come to an environment like this, it's an entirely different ball game. It really, really is. But there's some players out there just got that natural ability to come here and to be able to pursue what they do best and be able to make a good go of it. So we'll have to see if it can be one of these juggernauts in Jaeger.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about, you know, Rady, this is his first finals appearance, so, like, exactly what is his experience, and he was the top one in the world for that fourth qualifier. Again, went through 4 qualifiers, 2.5 million players tried to compete to get here today, and Rady was top one in that last one, so he barely got in, locked in his spot here, and so that is a pretty good resume. Even just off the bat, you don't have the finals appearances, but just getting top one on the leaderboard is an insane stat to get. So, again, you know, he's a little bit newer to Asphalt Legends, but you come out swinging with a top one finish in any qualifier, that's definitely nothing to scoff at for sure.
No, it really isn't. I'm lucky to get top 1%, let alone top 1%. Maybe a few people out there as well. But yeah, honestly, yeah, it's like we said before with these qualifiers, there's a lot of names you would see in those 4 qualifiers in the top 20, top 30 who've been around in so many different tournaments over the last 7 years. And it's just so tight, thousandths of a second. And that's why a lot of these players, not just in time trials, but they're treating a lot of these time trials actually into investing that time to transition it into multiplayer. So especially in this 1v1 setting. That's why over the last year, when they're doing these time trials, they're just like, well, do you know what? I've been practicing so much, I might as well invest more time, just a little bit more, into doing it into a dual format, into this 1v1 setting. And it looks like over the last year, players like Fire have been a fantastic example.
Yeah, and I'm really glad you brought up the whole format of going from qualifier offline to now, or qualifier online to now an offline environment, because that's something these players are going to have hundreds, if not thousands of hours playing the same track over and over and over and over again, trying to shave every single little millisecond off their track time. But here, you got one shot. You got one opportunity to do it. If you mess it up, it's over. The other player is also top one of those qualifiers. So you're not going up against some random from anywhere. These guys are here to compete and here to take the trophy. So if you mess up anything, you can't really go back and just restart your race over and over again like you could for the qualifiers.
Exactly. And if you guys at home want to get involved, remember, it's not closed off to anyone. It's absolutely open to everyone and anyone who wants to get involved. You'll see it on our website, socials, in terms of announcements, and in-game as well. But let's get straight into the game here as we're going to kick things off to see how things are going to fare up between Jaeger and Rady.
Here we go on Himalayas. This gives you a double barrel roll here, and it looks like they're going to take the same route here, going for this inside line. Sometimes you'll see them try and take that wall ride, but the 499P Modificata, again, we talk about the handling of this car. You can't win Le Mans with bad handling, that's for sure. This car did that. So these guys are going to take that inside line, opting not for that wall ride there, but you can see the double barrel roll coming out here, trying to get as much airtime as possible. They'll go through that bridge section. It looks like Jaeger has commanded quite a lead here as we go on to this ramp here, going into this chicane, coming out into the barrel roll. Again, you want to get as much airtime, but you don't want to go as high as you possibly can, because sometimes that'll lose speed. Jumping into the traffic there, looks like he's going to be honking to get those people out of the freeway there, trying to get to this destination, but it actually prevents Rady from catching some of that nitro if you hit the other opponent as well, or hit the traffic. So Jaeger, actually, that could be a little bit of a strat, trying to make sure that Rady can't get that nitro. And you can see Jaeger has quite a full nitro bar compared to Rady. So coming along this rough terrain section, Jaeger's going to have all the perfect nitro in the world, actually hitting the barrel roll as well. Both of them will do so in that inside line coming into the second lap.
I like Rady's micromanagement as well with the double nitro, the tiniest of jumps, and you can see that the nerves aren't really getting to him too much here. That was lovely stuff there from Rady. Closed the gap by another tip or two of a second, but you can see Jaeger's well aware of the situation. But in all fairness, the half a second gap kind of been a tiny bit close, a little bit open up here. But for Rady, though, we'll have to see what he can do in order to continue to close it. But so far, so good. I wasn't really too sure what to expect from him in this first race because with the nerves and everything else, but he's performing it extremely well. Good nitro managing, micromanaging the tricks of the trade very, very well here. We'll have to see if he can continue on, but it's not too far left now. We've only got a small portion of this track until we get to the finish line here. We'll have to see what Rady can do now.
Oh, he goes for the jump. What an insane maneuver. Jaeger looks like he was trying to lose the lead, but then grabbed it back at the last moment. Rady has nothing to say as we go to the last 10% of this lap. It looks like Jaeger has 1.5 miles of straightaway in order for him to take this first race here. That was some insane maneuvers. Looks like he was getting a little jittery on that second lap. Tried to almost fail that, but now he's going to cross the finish line in first place.
Beautiful stuff coming out from Jaeger. We expected nothing less from him. As we said, multi-EU Android champion. He's been around the block. He's one of the veterans in the scene and not really too much of a shock to the system there, winning that first race going into this best of 3. Remember, you guys at home, best of 3, every single race, every single series, apart from the grand final, which is a best of 7. But yeah, it's been very good so far. I've been very impressed with Rady, with how he's been doing so far. A lot of micromanagement I saw trying to close the gap. So I don't really feel like, you know, any kind of nerves stopped him in his tracks or anything like that. It seems to be quite cool, calm and collective. We'll have to see how he goes into the second race. Hopefully that map in particular maybe wasn't one of his favorites.
Yeah, I mean, that gap was closing on that second lap there, and it looked like Jägermeister, there's a little bit of potential for a slip up there, but then he pulled out that insane jump over the dirt track there, that section where you can bounce your car off. That gave him a solid like 250 milliseconds or something. And again, we're talking about 250 milliseconds, not seconds, not years, and not months. I mean, every little thing matters, every decision these players make. So it looked like Jägermeister, he knew in the back of his mind, if he doesn't do something insane, there's definitely that potential for Rady. Like you said, he was collected that whole time. He didn't make any slip ups or anything like that. We saw in that first matchup, there were a little bit of failed 360s. None of that for this race. It was really, really clean.
Don't you find it funny how like 3 or 4 years ago we would see, you know, a couple of wrecks, maybe takedowns, that kind of bits and pieces, but how much these players have refined now over the years is actually insane. It really, really is. When you feel like you're not getting any more impressed, you do. Every single time. But I'm excited to see how this second race is going to go. Rady, so like I said before, I haven't seen him practice too much in the practice area, but from what I've seen in that first race, the consistency was there. It was good. It's just a matter of how he's going to be able to close his gaps on these future tracks.
Yeah, nowadays, I mean, you can point at any one of these players' gameplay, cross out the name, but that's a robot. Like, that's definitely not human, because these guys
Android
are so
Jaeger.
accurate. Yeah, exactly. Here we go, on to Greenland, the second race. This is Jägermeister's opportunity to nip the butt in the head of this track here, making sure that he can close this 2-0 victory. He's going to opt for that lower road, actually, not going for that airspeed, but it looks like both of them are going to do that, making sure that they got that strategy in the pocket there. Looks like he's going to go on this inside line, trying to bump up onto that ice track, trying to get as much airtime as possible. Rady with an accidental 360. You can see that Jaeger's going to make sure he takes advantage of that with an ever so slight lead here. Actually uses acceleration with that shockwave to get ahead up to speed. We're going to see this little interesting shockwave here going from Greenland. Seems like sometimes, though, you don't need it for that double tap. The acceleration, again, of this car is absolutely insane. So you can see both these players taking pretty clean lines, and honestly, right out of the gate, it doesn't seem like there's much of a difference here.
Yeah, only a single barrel roll there, but it didn't really matter too much. It's not going to harm his nitro management at all in the slightest here. Rady, the last 10 seconds, has slightly better refinements, but we're not talking a massive difference in order for Jaeger to put too much worry onto his poor forehead, so he should be okay going into this next one. But as you can see, Rady again, just both of them using that brake nitro trick going around this next corner, heading into the volcano now. Rady using that shockwave a little bit early compared to what Jaeger is using right now. 360 again going over the steam, and we'll have to see how this next bit is going to go. But the main thing about this track here, Marv, is the fact that there is opportunities and ways for Rady to close the gap, but there's going to be some big risks required going into the second lap.
Yeah, some of the other tracks like Rome, for example, are really, really narrow. This time around, you can see there's wide open space anywhere for Rady to take advantage of that and try and overtake Jaeger. So I'm not concerned about any blocking or anything like that, but you can see Jaeger just has this lead in the bag. He's not really giving it up. So in order for Rady to pull ahead, there's got to be something he has to pull out of his sleeve in order to get it, or Jaeger has to make some sort of entire mistake in order to give up this lead, but it doesn't look like he is. He is locked in right now. He's taking every corner as sharp as possible, and Rady just can't really do anything to bring it back.
Yeah, his gameplay has been straight fire at the moment. I've not really seen any kind, even the most minor of errors, and of course going into this. But Rady's still not giving up here yet. We still haven't got too much time left. We'll have to see if Rady can take us to that third race, but looking unlikely at the moment. He's just praying at this point, due to the difference in time between the two, about half a second apart. He's praying that Jaeger may make a mistake along the lines here, but you know, with this portion of the track here, there's not really too much time left until Jaeger could potentially get victory in this second race. Let's see how this volcano section goes, though.
Here we go. We're getting to the last 10% of this race, and Jaeger looks like he is just not giving up an inch for this track. It looks like he is about to take this 2-0. We'll have to see, though, this time. Oh, just barely reaching the corner there, making sure not to wreck. That was close for sure, but here he crosses the finish line. First place, a clean 2-0 over Rady, and he will advance in the tournament.
That's one way of potentially ruining your second race.
Yeah.
That would be one of the worst things to happen. But again, fantastic play. Veteran experience coming out nicely from Jaeger. And GG's from Rady. Commiserations to him. Sadly, he will be out of the competition. But it's like I said before to him, no pressure. It's your first event. Take this on board with experience and then go from there. But honestly, he did play really well. I was very impressed. And I'm certain we'll see him again at a future event.
Oh, 100%. No wrecks, no mistakes or anything like that. But here's the man, the myth, the legend, Jaeger. Congrats, dude. Take this. We're going to have some questions for you. That was an insane race, dude. Big congrats.
Yeah, thank you so much.
How did it feel to you? How did it feel? Were you feeling okay? All good?
Yeah, I'm
Calm?
feeling great. Absolutely, yeah.
All calm and collected. Yeah, in all fairness, actually, you were locked in. You had your game face on, so.
Maybe I was locked in, but the nerves were there. I must admit, it's going to be a tough night for sure.
It will be, yeah. It will be a long night as well. So if you guys at home want some long asphalt, honestly, we've got plenty for you here tonight.
Oh, yeah.
So was there anything in any of those races, especially that second one, where you're a little bit worried about what Rady could come up with in terms of anything to close the gap? Because you were very consistent. You were micromanaging extremely well, and you were, I would say, almost faultless.
Okay, so there's two things. First and foremost, this is the track where it was added last minute, and I didn't get the chance to practice on this one. And second and foremost, well introduced at the beginning, we don't really know much about Rady. I had no idea what to expect from him. Maybe he was well prepared on that track, so I was just hoping like I would do no major mistakes, which kind of worked out. I would say I'm satisfied, but knowing that my opponent is going to be a fire, I know, I know it's going to be very difficult. There is one very surprising upset, and yeah, I'm not looking forward to my semi-final. To it that way.
But the main thing is, though, you've guaranteed top 4.
Yeah,
that's the main thing.
absolutely,
Maybe in top 3 to burn down the third place match, guys. Not saying you're going to lose, but
I took this personally. It just goes.
No, honestly, that should be a absolute banger of a semi-final.
It already was. I had a good time against Freddy. He proved his worth. He did play very well. I'm looking forward, and hopefully we'll see him more in the future as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's pretty much exactly. You might as well stand here. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Just let me take a look, okay?
But no, I said the exact same thing. I'm very much looking forward to what he could do in the future as well. I'm sure it will not be the last that we've seen of Rady. But speaking of your fire, how are you feeling with this? Well, you've already answered half my question, but real talk, first semi-final. Not saying what the probability or chances are, but you've seen how he's been playing in that first match. You've seen how he's been playing in practice. How do you feel things could potentially go? I know you don't know the tracks yet or anything like that.
I have no
do you feel
idea.
like this is going to be very map dependent?
Okay, I'll put it this way. Fire was regarded by all of us as a person with nerves of steel, but I have noticed that he was a bit nervous. But maybe because it was against NATO, who won 2 championships in 2 tournaments, so maybe it was because of that. But I don't know. A lot of things could play in that round, and I'm hoping I don't know. I'm just gonna carry it into the final. I guess. I hope so.
Yeah, honestly, you could. You were playing extremely well. Like we mentioned it before, pretty much faultless in both those races. So I don't know what you thought from your perspective, but it looked pretty damn good.
Yeah. I think I did well, but it could be better as always. But I did enough. That's for now what matters.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. But always a pleasure, Hugo. Thank you for being here, and you might come up again after you maybe.
I'm sure. Hope so.
Cool. We'll catch you soon. You can pass that back. Well, honestly, we'll probably end up giving it back to you in an hour's time, depending on the circumstances. But won't say anything else. Catch you soon. Guys at home, that is 2 quarterfinals all done and dusted, and now we're heading into our 3rd quarterfinal between the likes of Suchti and Oyocha. Now, Oyocha. Very curious about this guy. There's a lot you've got to talk about. I've never seen him before, ever, in an offline environment. A lot of reason as to why, but you are the knowledge base. I've got to pick your brain at some point. Tell me more about him.
Well, yeah, this is a really interesting matchup. Oyocha, we got to mention him because at home you may be wondering, well, he hasn't really played in a finals before, so where did this guy come from? However, he has been in the asphalt scene cooking underground for the past couple of years. This guy is an absolute demon on the leaderboards. So it was no surprise that at the age that now he can qualify, he just immediately walked into these finals. So there was no doubt in my mind that we would see him eventually here. So it's something to keep your eye on for sure. But against Sukti, though, that's going to be a tough one.
And look at the tracks in this 3rd quarterfinal. We've got Eternal City to start things off, Crosstown Rivals 2nd, and heading to Nevada for Dam Busters. So a very wide variety in terms of how this is going to go with these tracks. Buenos Aires, one of the shortest tracks you could say going into this matchup. But, the Eternal City as well. It's going to be very dicey. But I do feel like the Eternal City is a fantastic indicator to decide how things are going to go throughout the rest of the series.
I can agree with that. However, I will mention with Buenos Aires, as you mentioned, very short track, but a really, really twisty one. So again, 499P Modificata, one of the best handling cars in the game. It's going to come down to those racing lines again. And here we go over Sukti's stats. Ooh, favorite Ferrari with the SF90XX Stradale, one of the recent ones added to Asphalt Legends and released from Ferrari. One of the coolest looking ones, I might add. So definitely one to keep an eye out for sure. So that's an interesting matchup here again, because that Oyocha coming out here with not necessarily any like LAN finals experience, but over the course of the past couple of years, just insane leaderboard domination. Again, that's an environment where you mess up, you can restart over and over and over again. Here, you have one shot to do it all. So that's sort of where the pressure is going to be applied.
There was once upon a time, Suchti was an absolute menace in the Android scene, wasn't he? Especially in the EU side. Well, of course, especially. He's from Germany. He's been in the EU region for the tournaments for that majority of the last 5 years. But when he first came onto the scene, he was a nightmare. He really was a nightmare. It was the Jaeger show until the likes of Suchti said, nah, it's time to give someone else a turn, and here he is right now, continuing his prowess with his skill level. High pedigree of skill, must say, from Suchti, and I'm very excited to see how this is going to go, because I have absolutely no idea. It's like you mentioned earlier with Oyocha. He's an OG, but now he's come of age and he's actually able to compete, able to qualify straight away, which is, again, absurd. And now we're going to find out what he can really do and what he can bring to the table, because I'm very, very excited, because as you remember, Suchti is, technically a veteran now, the amount of appearances he's had in these finals. And Oyocha, even though he's been, like you said, underground cooking for, a number of years, now that he's come of age and he's ready to compete in these offline competitions, he could be some absolute scary stuff coming into this third quarterfinal.
Absolutely, and as we mentioned with Rady, you come out maybe with a little bit of nerves, not necessarily making it. We saw Rady actually go out in that first map against Jaeger there. But again, can we expect him in the near future? Absolutely. And one of the things with Sukti, as we were mentioning, an absolute veteran, 13 finals appearances, and he's won 5 of them. That is nothing to scoff at. That is an insane record for sure.
Certainly is indeed. And this is why I'm so excited. You know, when I see these new names, I'm always like, oh, I don't know about experience. Everybody's come out absolutely banging everyone and just winning. It's just absolutely ridiculous. I know you guys in chat are probably spamming, where's the next code? Where's the next code? They're coming. Don't you worry. It'll be out for them throughout the entirety of the broadcast. So don't you worry. Just keep your eyes peeled, or maybe get a friend to let you know in chat when they see it come up. One of the two. And let me know as well, please, because need some blueprints, need some tokens, need some credits. You know what I mean. As you can see, there we go. 18 from Japan. His favourite Ferrari is the Ferrari 488 GTB. See, this is where my age comes into play. You know, I'm a big fan of the F40. I really am. I've always has been, always will be. And I think we did see something like more of a recent type of Ferrari. I think it was the SC40, I believe. It took the inspiration. My goodness.
They were literally next to each other. The SC40 next to the F40. Of course, the SC40 based on the 296 GTB. It's sort of using the same chassis and internals, but the design is super different. It's made to look exactly like the F40. And I have to say, just those two back to back, absolute aura farming right there.
I didn't want to leave that floor. I was like, I don't want to do this show. I'm fine between these two cars. It's fine. But let you guys know at home, if you guys want to get involved in any of the qualifiers in the future, in the coming years and months, and you want to get involved in any of this competition, it's not closed off to the public or anything like that. It's open to you guys from the grassroots up. So make sure you keep an eye on all the socials, keep an eye on the website, but not only that, keep an eye for the in-game events on Asphalt Legends Unite as well, because when you see those events come up and the notifications, that's when you know we're going to have an event underway. And this is how exactly everyone got here today. Throughout the entirety of September and partially in October, we had the top 2 players from each of the 4 qualifiers to make it here today. So it's absolutely free to everyone. So don't ever expect it's closed off to you guys at home. Completely open everyone to the public, and we want to have you guys involved because you could be on this stage with us casting you to see exactly if you can win the crown. And you know what? That could happen one day. We could have someone come over here and interview and say, oh, well, you know, you mentioned it being open to the public. It's like, yeah, here you are. You know, could be the next legend coming here. So hopefully you guys get involved next time. It's like I said before, we had over 2 million players getting involved last year. This year, over 2.5 million, equating to 70 years of games. So I'm literally a normal person lifespan. Absolutely insane. But going to this third match, do you have any kind of prediction? Because the reason why I'm asking you and I'm not giving my prediction is because I'm kind of in the unknown. 60, I know everything about him. I know his entire life story. I know everything about him. Like, you know, he's been around for a good 4 or 5 years, I believe. But for you, though, how do you feel like this is going to go from what you've heard in terms of Oyocha's reputation?
That's the interesting part. I think this is probably the hardest matchup we're going to have to predict here because we talked about Sukti and his offline appearances. He has so much veteran experience with that. That's definitely going to give him an edge. You just have to give that to him, right? That veteran experience of actually being on stage in the finals live. Whereas Oyocha, yes, he has that reputation, crazy time-limited events, leaderboard performances, but does that translate to live in-person finals? We have to just wait for the races to find out. That's something that is still open. And honestly, you know, if you have to give a prediction, I would still give it to Sukti just because of that LAN experience. We know he was hungry. I was talking about with him earlier. He is super excited and just really locked in. He was practicing all day earlier today. He definitely wants to win here. I mean, that's something that's been on his books for a really long time. But again, Oyocha, first appearance, does he have any nerves? Doesn't look like it. But then again, in the race, that's the part that matters.
Oyocha is, he actually had a little bit of a snooze before coming here as well. He wanted to feel really refreshed and ready because we had to get up quite early to, you know, have a look around. Thanks to Ferrari once again for, you know, spoiling us rotten pretty much with the venue and the entire look around as well. Like we've been spoiled, so thanks to Ferrari once again. But finally, we're going to get the series started. Third quarterfinal between Oyocha and Sukti to see exactly who's going to come up trumps and be the first person in our second semi-final. But already Sukti and Oyocha just literally neck and neck net, trying to get around this next corner before going up that jump, which could be a little bit dicey here, but the collision's coming in. But you can see Stitch didn't get as many barrel rolls, but was falling short, a little bit too much height, as you can see. But listen, Oyocha is actually going to be taking a slightly different route, which is more of a common route you would see in the time trials as well. And Oyocha is massively in your lead. You're talking like 2 or 3 seconds right now.
Yeah, you saw the first 10 seconds with that ghost mode enabled. You saw them trying to just be neck and neck, trying to take every advantage to make sure out of that 10 seconds someone got ahead, and it looked like it was Oyocha there. And it looks like he tried to take that section where you get way more airtime. That's going to definitely give him the advantage. But now we get into the double chicane. Sukti has honestly pulled it back just a little bit. So honestly, at any moment, if Oyocha makes a mistake, I could see Sukti making a quite a large comeback here. Looks like he's going to do a couple barrel rolls, going really high up with that airtime. He's going to do the recovery, end up landing on all 4 tires, but it still looks like Oyocha coming into the second lap has a pretty big victory, pretty big lead, I should say, as we go into the Coliseum with the rough terrain.
That rail ride straight after that second lap for Oyocha is just absolutely insane. Just continuing on a warpath here. But don't get me wrong, though, you can see Suchi's actually caught up just a little bit, but nowhere near enough to what we're going to expect it for Oyocha. Lovely early jump there, low jump to get around to the next portion, round this next bend. Again, Shockwave, just keeping it slow and steady, just keeping the jumps low just to make sure he doesn't avoid any kind of crashes. But you can see already he's playing it very, very safe. He's only got 25% distance left before he managed to end this, but what a way to kick things off. This is absolutely insane. And you're right, no, you were saying it before, and you are right. He is an absolute demon going into this matchup.
Yeah, really treating it like it's a qualifier. No sweat at all or anything like that. No pressure. Absolutely coming out here swinging, making sure to block after those 10 seconds expired. Seems like Sukti's getting a little bit more airtime. It's going to get a little close as we near the finish line, but it looks like Oyocha using Shockwave into the airtime. It's going to cross the finish line, taking our first race.
Lovely stuff coming up from Oyocha. Looks like his reputation is playing a big part here, and it looks like he's certainly making a name for himself going into this offline environment. You can see all the players' influences there, getting ready for this next race, second race in this third quarterfinal. And I do find it quite funny, but obviously they're both aware about the 10-second collision. They were both playing chicken on that jump. You can tell.
Yeah, it was an absolute battle, right? You have to have that first place as soon as those 10 seconds expire, but otherwise you can start blocking if you get that like initial lead. That's a really important part. If you start blocking because there's no takedowns enabled, you can make sure you block the player from any of those lines. So we saw with Oyocha, he was actually blocking the other opponent here, trying to make sure that he was a little messed up on that barrel roll. You saw that he had to actually take a different line as a result of that block. So really good strategy coming out here from Oyocha. Again, we talked about whether or not he's going to adapt to that live in-person environment, and it seems like he came out with a strategy to do so.
The bloke is playing like he's at home. He really is, isn't he? It's like absolutely nerves of steel. But this is what you want. But I think he's got to a point where he tried to invest so much time, it doesn't matter what kind of small mistakes he makes, he'll play as natural as possible. I'd probably say that's quite good advice. If you do want to feel as natural as possible on a stage, especially a stage as big as this one, invest as much time as possible that you're literally on autopilot with all the tricks of the trade you want to go into, especially with that micro and nitro management as well. As we're going to head into our second race now to see if Suchi can tie things up in this best of 3, or if Oyocha will go by his online reputation and take this 2-0.
Here we go, Buenos Aires onto the stadium. Looks like they were taking slightly different routes, but they're not far off each other. Looks like that Shockwave is going to give a little bit of advantage here as Ghost does expire. Seems like the collisions are off, and now the gloves are off. They are bumper to bumper now. Forced barrel roll onto the track. They're going into the second stadium. It looks like Oyocha just barely swinging behind, but it looks like a little bit of a lower barrel roll. That's going to give him, I think, a little bit of more time. Yeah, it looks like the catch-up is ever so slightly there, but Sukti doing everything in his power to maintain this lead as we go into the twisty chicane section. This is going to be really difficult. This is one of the hardest parts of the track, and they both absolutely nail it. Oyocha, a little bit of wall collision there. That's actually going to give Sukti a massive advantage as we head into the second lap here very quickly here, and a little bit of an accidental 360 from Oyocha. Again, going to cost him a little bit of time, and just like last time, though, actually the opposite. The roles are reversed. Sukti with a very fine margin here with a lead.
A little bit fiddly from Oyocha, but was able to recover. Funny enough, that one, but I call it Spaghetti Junction because it's just an absolute nightmare in Buenos Aires. Now, as we're going to continue on fourth, but Oyocha just keeping him on his toes at the moment. Yes, sure, he had a little bit of a slip up here and there, which is quite rare, even though we've only seen him in that first race. But heading to lap number 2 now, going to find out exactly what shenanigans he's going to be up to see if it can close the gap onto Suchi. But switch over to Suchi's perspective at the moment, looking very good. Use that brake nitro to the Shockwave, going over that next jump, but it's been looking very good. But Oyocha just absolutely not letting off the gas at all. It's like I said before, these guys the last 12 months have been shooting every race like a time trial, no matter what of the situation they are in. But Oyocha, even though he is about a second behind, there's only a small amount of time left until Suchi can at least secure this second race, but Oyochi's been playing so well here. I think he may have closed the gap by a couple of tenths of a second here. Lovely refinements with the shockwave into that straight and narrow point. But honestly though, if Suchi continues this consistency, this could be the going into a race number 3, which of course, you know, more asphalt the better.
Oh, the more asphalt, the more we enjoy it. But it looked like that double chicane was where Oyocha messed up on that first lap, and he did the exact same thing this time around, where he just clipped that little bit, and it looks like a failed barrel roll. I think that's going to secure it for Suki. We got a game on our hands. We're going to definitely go to a third one after this. If he can nail this barrel roll, go across the river here, he'll absolutely nail it, and Suki takes Buenos Aires.
Even if Oyocha didn't mess up that jump, I think he would have only closed by a few more tenths of a second anyway, sadly.
Yeah.
But Oyocha was like, well, do you know what? I've got nothing to lose because I've
might
lost
as well.
anyway. I've only got like, what, 20% left? I need to make a good go of it or nothing's going to happen. So it is going to be one apiece in this third quarter final. And 16 now is thinking, okay, right.
He's thinking. He's cooking.
Nerves have come down a little bit now. He definitely is putting the thinking face on, but as we go into the third race, I hope he gets more than just his thinking cap on, because literally going into this one, it's going to be a little bit of a doozy here.
I told you Buenos Aires was the one to look out for.
You were
I was
right.
like, it's definitely
Hands
the
up,
twisty
you were right.
track. This is the one. I know. I was like, well, frankly, Buenos Aires is one of the tracks that we don't see quite a lot. Players seem to be a little bit of a controversial take on depending if they like the track or not. It's very twisty. As you mentioned earlier, one of the shortest tracks in the game. And as we saw with Oyocha there on the first and the second lap, it's really, really easy to sort of cut the corner a little bit too close, get a little bit of wall riding that turns into a bumper slap. You can lose a little bit of your paint job there, and that's exactly what happened with Oyocha, losing him a little bit of that time. And unfortunately, we saw a couple extra failed 360s, going the opposite direction where you want to go, and I think that cost him the game, honestly. Sukti, absolutely no doubt, one of the best performances here on Buenos Aires. He nailed every single jump and every single corner to perfection.
These two players, they're the kind of players where I don't want either to go out. Suchi, I love the guy, but with Oyocha, I want to see what more he can do. Honestly, it's after that first race, I was really impressed. Like, with just not just in terms of how consistent he was with his refinement, but it was playing so risky, but it came so natural to him. Like, you can tell that he's been working really hard to refine everything he could do coming into this competition. It reminds me of like maybe like an early Future Flash or something like that, where it's just absolutely no holds barred, absolutely no care in the world, and just want to absolutely flex and just get into people's heads here. And I feel like he did in that first race, but 60 now brought him down to earth a little bit here. That's probably the best way to describe it.
A little bit, but we got a best of 3 on our hands now.
Exactly.
We got a third map. That's exactly what you all want to see at home. I know you're in the comments section typing, so it's going to be an exciting race. I'm really looking forward to this last one because, yeah, this was one of the ones that we weren't really predicting, but as we see the camera panning between absolute legends like Michael Schumacher, Niki Lauda, these are in front of the players. They are looking straight down the barrel of this absolutely legendary status from Ferrari drivers, and possibly they could make their name here as a legend if they take everything to the finish line.
961, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Like
You're
it was
that old?
yesterday. No. It was some very good stuff on my face. Absolutely not. But honestly, it is amazing, really, because not only is the venue just incredible, we're actually in front of us, as you just saw from the camera, we're surrounded by Ferrari's entire history. So, we've got players behind us trying to make a name for themselves and put themselves in history books here in the Ferrari Esports Asphalt Series finals. But also, we are just treated with just such luxury Ferrari vehicles, trophies, everything, you name it. We are absolutely spoilt rotten. But speaking of spoiled, we're getting another race 3 here in this best of 3. We cannot complain at all, as both players are getting ready for Nevada to find out exactly how things are going to turn out, how things are going to finish off. Love to know in chat what you guys think, who's going to take this, if it's going to Suchi or Oyocha. The new blood's coming to the scene. Well, we say new blood, but he's been cooking for 5 years. He's now here ready in his first time in an offline environment, and just very excited to see exactly how things are going to pan out. So 3, 2, 1, and we're going to get things underway in our final race of this best of 3.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, on Nevada, and something you want to pay attention to is once we get into those tunnel sections, that's going to be a really critical moment for certain overtakes, different mechanics that these players use. A lot of opportunity to use different things. So again, Nevada is going to be a really interesting area to look at. I'm really curious to see how both those players attack that sort of tunnel section, because you can sort of bounce your car off the side, get a little bit of extra airtime, or you could wall ride the whole way, a little bit of the safer option, but you know that you're going to keep your speed the whole time. So I'm curious to see, depending on how these players use that mechanic.
Yeah, I really am as well. And, well, Oyocha was we're getting all hyped up for that third race. And Oyocha, how dare you? How dare you let us down? Nah, that's right. It's just, one of those things. It happens, but momentarily, just a slight technical difficulty. But we'll get straight underway with that third race very shortly. It's just just building up the tension, mate. Building up the tension.
Even, yeah, a little more of a tease there, you know.
Stop teasing me. Get into it. I've had enough. I'm literally like one of those people in chat literally spamming start the game.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm
You
doing it
just
live
want the
instead.
race. You just want the action. That's all you want. And that's what you came for, ladies and gentlemen. You're getting full action, best of threes all the way. None of those best of ones. That's just cheap. You know, we don't do any of that here.
Makes me sick thinking about it. Best of sevens, though. Ooh.
That's nice. I'm looking forward to that. But
That's my
here
cup
we
of tea.
go. Nevada, the last track here to separate Oyocha and Sukti. Again, the veteran we talk about, Sukti, seems like he's going to be off to a flying start here. And there we go. Deja vu. I don't know. I feel like this has happened
Teasing
previously.
me.
Yeah.
Stop it. Stop
So much
teasing me.
teasing. What's going on?
To be expected, to be expected. But, you know, we could talk a little bit about Oyocha again. You were saying that he's been around for quite a long time. Where have you just been seeing him lurking like in qualifiers and, you know, maybe YouTube videos, that kind of stuff? Is that what kind of opened your eyes to see that, you know, this guy could have some serious potential?
Yeah, some of the pro players, you know, as we were talking, like in different events, they quietly mention his name as someone up and coming that you might want to pay attention to. And lo and behold, every once in a while, I'll check those time-limited events. I want to get those top 1%, get all those blueprints and rewards that I can. And I notice at the top, I always check the top 100. You got names there like Future Flash and, of course, whatever. But Oyocha is always there. He's always lurking around in those top qualifiers, in those top time-limited events. But unfortunately, he just hasn't had the opportunity to come and compete in person. And honestly, I'm really glad that he's taken a map off Sukti here because it's a full best of 3 here. And we weren't expecting, like, well, actually, what expectations do we have, right? None of that actual LAN experience, whereas Sukti on the other side, definitely the veteran. Again, it's a really hard matchup to say because we talked all about the legendary status of Oyocha, but at the same time, no LAN experience, whereas Sukti has had that in spades. So again, very hard to call. And it looks like this third one is going to have to be the decider between these two.
You are spot on, actually, because I have definitely seen that. You know, when you've seen the qualifiers over the last 2 or 3 years, you always see the same name pop up again and again and again. You're just like, why are they not here? But now we know why. But there's probably a few more players out there in that exact same position who could be here when they come of age and be able to compete. So Oyocha, I'm sure that name has popped up quite a few times. You know, it's like I said before, you know, you go for that, you know, 1% to get you all your goodies and all that jazz. And then you do look at the top 50, 100, go, okay, let's just have a little bit of a gander. And that name crops up. You're absolutely spot on because I'm sure I have seen that name once, like, you know, once in a blue moon here and there. And it's obviously just a way for him. Yes, sure, he can't be here until now, but it's a good way. It's a nice confidence boost. It's to say, well, do you know, well, when I do get to a point where I can attend these events, then I do have the ability to make sure that I can qualify, which is great. And now he's actually been able to do it. He must feel relieved for, oh, like, you know, all the times I could have qualified in the past but couldn't, but I've still been able to show that level of consistency going into it now.
The other thing is, if you're sitting on the sidelines just watching at home, knowing that you can be here, you're studying every single race, every sort of type of mistake that these different players have, because we do see a little bit of variance in terms of the play styles. Someone like, for example, Jaeger's gonna have a little bit of a different attack on the different routes compared to Future Flash, for example. And if you're Oyocha sitting at home, you get to watch all of those VOD reviews. You get to have a strategy depending on which player you get to face. And whereas the other players, they have no idea how you're gonna react in a live situation. So you actually technically have a little bit of advantage. You know, we do talk about Sukti with that experience, but at the other hand, we have the inexperience, the complete unpredictability of Oyocha. So I think that was a big factor.
Certainly is indeed, and it's getting used to all the players 1v1 styles as well. Some people play dirty, some of them love to body block, some of them like to play clean. Every different types of styles here. But let's get into his third race now, the last race of this best of 3 in the third grand final. And as you can see, 60 was just able to take the lead slightly, but with a slight bump there, so slowed it down just a little bit. But 60's also trying to be on at least trying to overtake him on the tail end as they go over this next bend. But as you can see, it's Oyocha with the lead, but you can see 60's trying to at least plan to make that overtake. Goes for the 360 though, which is a little bit in particular. My goodness me, this is literally neck and neck as we go down this tunnel.
Bumper to bumper collision, trying to block every moment. Oyocha almost crashing into the barrier, but he's going to recover at the last minute. They're still neck on neck. This could be anyone's race depending on how it goes. That was an insane block. It goes under the truck. That was crazy. I don't know if you want to call that luck or skill, but that was an insane moment.
Certainly was indeed, as Oyocha just right on his tail here, just a few tenths of a second. One minor error coming up from Suchti, and that is all done.
Ooh.
Lovely rail ride there, just to try and close the gap. But of course, with the collision, he's going to try and take him down. Going inside, then
And he
he's
takes
over
it.
to overtake him. But Suchti also just took his place straight afterwards. But remember, guys, this is only the first lap as we now head into the second.
This is by far the closest race I've ever seen. The stakes are so high. The collisions were so close. It looks like Oyocha with a little bit of extra airtime is going to go for the moment there. He actually is so close to overtaking, going a little bit on the inside, trying to go through for that hairpin corner, taking that inside line very close, but Sukti doing a very good job trying to block and maintain his line, but ever so slightly bumping against that wall. That's going to cost Oyocha a little bit of lead taken here by Sukti, a little bit of recovery there. Seems like on this break nitro trick, they're going to try and maintain that speed they got in the airtime. And again, hopefully we'll see a little bit of blocking here out from Sukti. That's sort of been his main advantage. That's been his ability, that strategy. Both players getting airtime, smacking into the wall. That's going to give Oyocha a little bit of an advantage. This gap is closing ever so tightly.
My goodness, literally of a tenth of a second here. Both of them shockwaving over that last jump. But let's see what Oyocha is going to do. He's probably going to have to rail ride once again on that second jump coming up very shortly. And will it make or break? Suchti's well aware of it. Will he take the risk as well? It's going to be the next check. He's literally playing chicken here as he does try to go for it. But sadly, will TP back to that previous jump. And that does mean Suchti had sealed it. But I was curious to see if Suchti was also going to take that plunge.
Oh, you just had to go for it. Sukti crossing the finish line here, defeating Oyocha here on the opening match. Yeah, we got clapping from the audience. That was one of the most intense, insane races I've ever seen. Props to both of these players. They came out swinging with all their different strategies, and you could see the different play styles, but good job to Sukti. What an absolutely insane race from both of these players. You saw the different strategies, as we mentioned, but I'm sweating here, man. I was like fumbling my words on the call because every moment something was changing. That was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that was insane. If he managed to pull off that rail ride the second time in a row and managed to finish it, we could be seeing someone different going into the semis.
Oh, totally.
So I think for Suchti, it was like, do I just let him risk it and just play it safe and hope for the best, or do I just risk it myself? Because that thought process must have come up in his head. It must have done. But actually, do you know what? Let's ask the man.
Let's ask him, yeah.
We've got a few questions to ask you, mate. A few questions. There you go.
Get you all sorted.
So, I'm going to kick things off straight away with that last race. What was going for you ahead on the last jump going into the going into the second lap? Because as you know, he actually rail ride to almost to try and overtake you and then go to the inside lane, and then that's when that was the end of the first lap. He was looking to do it on the second lap, and as you saw, he failed and TP'd back. I was going to say, I bet you thought, oh, thank God for that.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind at the time? Was you also planning to risk it as well, or was you just going to continue to play safe?
So yeah, I knew I was ahead, though by not much. So I thought like the issue I had with the strike in practice is when I take this rail, I have a bad angle for like trying to get a push to get the airspeed there. So I thought, okay, since I'm ahead, I may not need to risk it because it does not gain you that much time. So maybe I could have. So I went, yeah, okay, I will skip it. And since he was very close to me, I was like, okay, this is an all or nothing moment. Should I do it? Should I not do it? And I decided not to. And yeah, he went for it, and he made a mistake. And yeah, it was a good decision.
Relief.
It was a relief, yeah. Considering it was a very big relief, considering he's like the favorite of the entire tournament.
Yeah, as a truth, I saw your face, and I could tell you already looked at the mini map already. It's like, okay, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
You're literally like, what, one bend and you're sorted, you're fine. And last question, second to last question. I'll keep you a little bit longer. What were your thoughts on Oyocha just as a player? Because, you know, he's been known for time trials and all that jazz.
Yeah.
This is his first time in a 1v1 environment, in an offline environment. What's your opinions on him? Because one, we're definitely going to see him again at some point, that's for sure, because he's such a young, talented player.
Yeah.
But what's your thoughts on him as a 1v1 player?
Yeah, so he itself is an insane player. TLE-wise, MP as well, he's a monster. If he wants to, he can beat anyone. That's without question. But since this was his first tournament, maybe the stress got to him. That's part of the game. My first tournament, I also was shaking my head. But yeah, since I had some experience and he didn't, maybe that gave me the edge. And in the end, I did it.
And I know you've been transitioned to controller as well. Like, how long has it been now since you was able to fully invest? Because it's not just about hand-eye coordination with a controller, it's your mental state of mind when you go into it. Because sometimes you might be fine there, but in terms of a headspace, it can work a little bit different. So, like, how long has it been now since you was able to fully transition? And how long did it take you to transition to a controller?
Yeah. So yeah, first of all, always use tilt, and the more insane the competition got, I realized with tilt it was going to be harder to qualify, to play, and judging by my track record, you can also tell I was winning every ESL back then flawlessly, and the recent ones I did not perform well. I made many mistakes, etc. But in general, the competition just got better, so I had to adapt. I was thinking, okay, I have to switch to controller because otherwise it's going to be very hard for me to qualify and maybe even win an event. So me personally, when I started using controller, it was my first time ever using a controller in my entire life. So
Oh, wow. Oh,
yeah. I never had a PC, nothing, always phone gamer. So it was a very tough switch. So I practiced a lot, and in around maybe 1 to 2 weeks, it took me everything, like to learn the basics, basically, to how do I break nitro, how do I steer properly, because with the stick it's very different than when you're tilting your device. But yeah, the mental state, it was difficult because even at the start by using controller I did not make good times, I made many mistakes, etc. So it was difficult. I always thought like, okay, should I go back to tilt, because there was an upcoming esports event as well.
Yeah.
So I did not know, okay, will I have enough time? So I dedicated myself, I played a lot. I've got to be fair, it's a lot of hard work. There's not only talent involved. There's a lot of hard work, a lot of time investing. Many don't have it. I had it, luckily, in that time. So I was like, okay, I will save. I will try everything to learn controller as good as possible. And yes, since then, I've been using it for a year till today.
I wasn't aware you never even touched a pad in your life.
No.
Like, I thought, okay, maybe growing up as a kid, he's been playing on, I don't
No.
know, you know, one of the other consoles, out there. But I'm actually shocked. Like, the fact that you've done that without even touching the damn thing is ridiculous. So I'm very impressed by that. But final question. You know what the next quarterfinal is? Future Flash versus Dark Hyper.
Yeah.
Is there one player you're quite keen on rather playing instead?
Yeah, to be fair, I would like to race Future Flash.
Yeah? Okay.
Mainly because in my first ever competition for this game, I made a lot of bad moves, etc. And with Future Flash, there was always this rivalry. We always qualified for events, but back then it was platform splitter, so we couldn't really meet up. But in events like Gamescom 2024, etc., we never really matched each other. We always somehow avoided each other, and there was always this rivalry between us, a lot of arguing, etc. So
well, outside of tournament, we can't keep you off each other.
yeah, so in general, it would be fun to finally meet each other and see how the years of Asphalt unfold.
Yeah, no, honestly, that should be interesting. That would be our next match coming up shortly. But Sushdeep, thank you very much. It's always been an interview. Really appreciate it. You might come back in an hour. We'll have to see. Find out how things go if you beat whoever it is, Future Flash or Dark Hyper. But cheers, mate. Appreciate it. Thanks for the answers and spending a little bit of time with us. Thank you. And guys, at home, we've got our fourth quarterfinal coming up very shortly. We do have Future Flash versus Dark Hyper. They're Colombian, although for South America, looking to try and make an impact here, as we know, made a name for himself already, but he's been looking very, very good. But Future Flash, if you don't know him, then where on earth have you been for the last 6 years? Ever since 2019 in Milan, he's been winning loads of championships, some of them even back-to-back. Even last year, he won, he won like 4 out of 5, so won 10 bare minimum. And he's looking for another one to add to the trophy cabinet here. So this is going to be a real dicey match. But one thing I will say, with a player like Future Flash, if he gets over that first hurdle, then normally 9 times out of 10 he's smooth sailing to the final. Maybe not win the final, but go to the final nonetheless. But if he doesn't, then that's when sometimes those first match jitters, it happens from time to time. But let's have a look at this fourth quarterfinal, see what we'll be playing on. We're heading over to Cairo for Nile River, then over to Scotland for Ancient Ruins, and over to the Himalayas for Mountain Pulse. You know, I haven't actually played Mountain Pulse that much. like personally, but I'm very excited to see how Nile River and Ancient Ruins goes. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, this is a really interesting lineup because a lot of this is very top speed oriented. So a lot of the tracks that we saw previously, Buenos Aires, especially Paris, that's a lot of like very technical drifting and nitro. You got to really make sure your nitro management is on point. But this time around, it's all about top speed. It's all about airtime as well. We see so many rail grinds and tricks on Cairo and Himalayas, especially if we get to that third map. I'm going to be really excited to see what the players pull off there. So this is, in my opinion, a really interesting matchup. Again, Future Flash, if you don't know him, you've been living under a rock. This guy has won pretty much everything under the sun. But on the other side, Dark Hyper, not like an underdog, I would say. I would say a very good contender. He's had 4 titles in the past, so someone very dependable. He qualifies a lot. So someone in the scene, I think, has a good shot of actually upsetting Future Flash here.
He is one of the best players in LATAM, if not one, or if not the best, because he has been so good. He's been known for not just how highly consistent he's been over time, but the crazy stuff he pulls out from his backside and able to deliver. Like, he really has delivered. And the fact that this is a quarterfinal, I'm so happy.
No, it's like
and the fact we've had 2 race 3s already
exactly.
as well is absolutely crazy. But no, I am honestly very excited to see the outcome of this. It's a very tough bracket as well, because whoever wins this has to play Switch T as well, and he's feeling good. He's just beat Oyocha, who's definitely a up and comer. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the other thing I want to mention, Future Flash here, is we'll go ahead and take some stats here, get some player profile going. SF90XX Stradale, a really good favorite. Lots of players like that car. It was, again, one of the recent additions to Asphalt Legends. But something I do want to mention is Future Flash here is the last remaining tilt to steer player. We saw a lot of interviews. I mean, Sukti mentioned it, how he had to actually switch from tilt to controller. So that was a really interesting decision and move. And it seems like the player base has really been leading that way. And it seems like this time around, Future Flash is the last remaining tilt to steer player.
Here he is, the man himself, Dark Hyper. He's happy, he's smiley, he's ready to get into some action and show us how it's done and to show what LATAM can really do here on the global stage. And I'm very excited to see how he's going to perform against Future Flash as well. You can see Dark Hyper's like, oh yeah, you know, it's good to be here. Future Flash locked in, serious face on, no mucking around, all business. And like we said before, but we'll say it again and again, if you guys want to get on this stage and be able to perform it with the rest of these juggernauts here in terms of the asphalt scene, make sure you guys get involved. Make sure to always check all our socials and our website for announcements with future tournaments and qualifiers, and you can also check in-game for any events we have as well related to it. Remember, it's for everyone at home. It's not closed off at all. It's all available to the public. So let's get started things off onto the Nile River on Cairo to see who's going to come up trumps in this first race.
Here we go. Future Flash taking the early lead, trying to get onto that hop there, and he's actually going to do it with an included barrel roll. Buy one, get one free. That's going to give him an enormous start here on Cairo, and this track is really going to be fun because this is the one with the huge bridge skip. So I'm curious to see if anyone's going to have to go for it. Seems like Dark Hyper on the back foot here, trying to go for that inside. Seems like he's going to be, again, just taking that early lead here for Future Flash. So maybe he has to actually pull out that Cairo skip. As we see coming up here on the lap, looks like this straightaway, you're going to get a ton of airtime here. Future Flash actually going a little bit higher than maybe he may have wanted. That's going to cost him just ever so slightly. Dark Hyper missing the rail, trying to get that extra airtime. Again, going to make sure that Future Flash maintains this lead, and this is the jump. This is the one. Are they going to go for it? Any risks here? It looks like Future Flash not going to go for it. Dark Hyper not either. Seems like he's confident the fact that he can maybe get this lead without trying to go for a crazy risk.
Yeah, Future Flash earlier only had a single barrel roll, and also he had too much height, so he did lose a lot of speed, but he made up for that triple barrel roll going over the bridge, so got tons of nitro to play with as they're both going around this next bend. You can see Dark Hyper about half a second behind at the moment, but you know what Nile River's like, there's plenty of room for not just for error from Future Flash's side, but for him to close the gap as well. As Future Flash looking pretty damn good at the moment here. A single barrel roll there just to try and go over this next jump. Lovely start, but as I say that, sadly, he fails it. And that means Dark Hyper now is going to have a huge lead after that wreck.
Oh, that might do it. I mean, we might see one of the skip jumps here from Future Flash, but even then, I don't know. This lead is absolutely insane as a result of the fumble. Really unfortunate there. Sometimes you'll just see every once in a while it just doesn't quite work out for you, but I definitely respect it because he was already in the lead. He didn't necessarily need to take any insane insane risk, but you have to do it nowadays. Again, the meta is just absolute perfection, and it seems like just at that very moment, the physics not quite working out for Future Flash. Again, there is this slight opportunity with the bridge jump, unless Dark Hyper goes for it. I don't think he's going to go for it. Yeah, just the risk is too much there. Maybe Future Flash will attempt it. I mean, at this point, you have nothing to lose. It looks like he's lining himself up. Will he actually make it? No, wrecking into the pillar there. Unfortunate for Future Flash. I think that's going to secure it for Dark Hyper as we go into the 360 corner. Second lap, first track, secured for Dark Hyper.
I respect that from Future Flash, but
Yeah.
you know, there's nothing more he can do at this stage. There wasn't really too much that Dark Hyper can do in order to wreck himself or self-inflict in any way to close that 3-second gap. But Future Flash, again, it's like you said, it's very unfortunate with that specific jump. Probably does it 9 times out of 10, but sadly did roll onto his side. And Dark Hyper does win the first race in this best of 3. It's like I said before, he had the lead. It's one of those things, one of those situations, but honestly, it's in their DNA. It's as you rightly mentioned, it's all about perfection. And we know, and Dark Hyper is well aware that Future Flash is, you know, one of the blueprints of the asphalt scene. So it's not really too much of a shocker there. But yeah, my goodness, it's just back-to-back upsets coming up here in these quarterfinals.
I was going to say, yeah, I mean, as soon as the race ended, Dark Hyper took out his phone. He's going to go tweet, hey, I just beat Future Flash. Let me go. That was a good upset. I mean, again, we're still got races 2 and maybe even 3 yet to come. That was such a minor slip-up, though. Like, again, maybe you could fault it to physics even at that point. So it's like with Future Flash in the second race, honestly, and as we're talking about the second race, Ancient Ruins here on Scotland, can Future Flash maintain composure? He now has the pressure applied to him as Dark Hyper takes a little bit of an early lead.
Ancient Ruins is definitely a track which can be very beneficial for anyone who's at least a half a second behind to close that gap. But let's see how things are going to go. We can talk a little bit that later on in the second lap as Dark Hyper just trailing behind only a tiny bit by a tenth of a second as Future Flash did initiate Shockwave just a tiny bit later. But you can see that with Future Flash, he had better nitro management on that previous jump. But so far, so good. Dark Hyper's still on Future Flash's tail, but you can see Future Flash not giving anything away, but because he gave up the inside, that means that Dark Hyper will be able to try to close the gap, and Future Flash overtakes once again with that Shockwave. Lovely stuff coming out from him.
Future Flash goes above and beyond to overtake Dark Hyper just as the first lap is about to finish. That was an insane sequence of turnouts there. It was going back and forth. Dark Hyper going for that inside line again, above and beyond for Future Flash. It's going to be close, but he just barely takes it. Dark Hyper in the lead for this second lap, but Future Flash is right on his tail, right in the rearview mirror.
He's nudging, and you can tell he's trying to pave the way, but Dark Hyper is body blocking him at the moment to try and put a stop. A few extra barrel rolls for Future Flash, more nitro to play with, but let's see if he can make a good go of it as he goes around this next bend. But it's like I said with Ancient Ruins, there's plenty of opportunity, but nice grind coming out there from Dark Hyper to try and get a little bit nitro, a little bit more airtime and speed in order to try and extend that lead by another tenth or 2 of a second.
This is where the lead started to crack for Future Flash back there. It seemed like that inside line. He's still going to take it, though. Again, the lead is not really that far behind. He can really grasp at any moment depending on how Dark Hyper plays this, but as we get to this last section, he's going to try and go for the rail grind. It's not quite going to work out. The risk not going to pay off, unfortunately, for Future Flash, and again, it's just those 2 slight little mistakes that's going to cost him for this track, and Dark Hyper is going to take the victory here in our 4th quarterfinal.
Dark Hyper managed to take the victory 2-0 in the 4th quarterfinal, and he'll be playing against Suchti later on in the second semi-final. It's honestly, it's just sadly, it's about self-infliction both times, but it could have been anyone's guess here. But the main thing with Dark Hyper was he was keeping the pressure on, so at least that way he'll try and throw off Future Flash's mental game a little bit. But we saw there on the halfway stages of that first lap, Future Flash just swerved a little bit too much on the outside. Again, you can see for Dark Hyper, that's thank you for the half a second, pulled away, and it was very back and forth, so that was an absolute crazy way to finish off the quarterfinals. If you guys are just joining us at home, do not worry. All the quarterfinals are done and dusted, but you're back for the meat and potatoes of the tournament. We've got the 2 semis, and we do have the grand final. But first, we're going to go for a quick break. Let the players chill and relax and try and set themselves up for the next semi-final, as it's going to be an absolute doozy. So guys, don't go anywhere, as we'll be back in just a few moments. everyone, and welcome back here to the Ferrari Esports Asphalt Series 2025. And we do have a guest. You may have just won that last quarterfinal. Dark Hyper, congratulations on that victory. Tell me just how you're feeling overall, because there was a lot of very high-pressure situations where you was praying that there's some kind of self-infliction from Future Flash's side, and it seemed like, you know, you were given what you wanted pretty much. So in that first race there, you was very consistent and you were very good. How was you feeling after that first lap when you realized that Future Flash wasn't able to make that previous jump?
Like, I don't know why he feels so confident, because he had the advantage. So instead of playing safe, he decided to risk. So obviously, playing risk, it has a risk. So I also played risk, but for me it was pretty defined. So I did a GG. It's only luck.
Yeah, definitely. And was you quite surprised how unsafe he was playing, considering the circumstances and the position he was in? Because he had a good half to 3/4 of a second of a lead. So was you quite surprised that he was playing so unsafe still?
I don't know if he. Well, sorry about that. I didn't understand the question very well. Can you explain me a bit more?
Yeah, sure. So was you quite surprised that he was still being quite risky with his gameplay, even going into the second lap with a decent lead?
Oh yeah, it was worth to play it risky. It was completely worth to play risky. Also, when I saw that he crashed, I started playing safely.
That was it for you. It's like 2-second advantage. I'm going straight in. And going into your next matchup, it will be against Suchti. Now, as you know, it's been an Android fiend in the EU side for quite a long time now. He's got a good reputation, just like yourself, as one of the greatest LATAM players, we can have on board here. How do you feel like that's going to go? Because he's been playing stellar at the moment, but you've also been playing equally as well. So how do you feel going into the semi-final later on?
Okay, playing with Sukti is something pretty common in the tournaments. Like on Cologne, we also faced the same. Like it was a Dark Hyper against Sukti, so it's like El Clásico of the Asphalt tournaments. But I like to play against him. To be honest, I like to play against him. That's what happened in the next match.
Well, we're going to look forward to it. It's going to be in 2 matches' time. Of course, we do have to get the first semi-final underway, but I have to say congratulations. We'll see you in the second semi-final. I'll take that from you because I know you've got to go and get prepared and get ready for your second semi-final. So good luck in your next matchup. So as you can see, Dark Hyper, we'll be seeing him later on in the second semi-final, but we've got another one to crack on first. I think we better get started straight away. It will be between the likes of Yafire and Jaeger, and I'm very, very excited for this because these two will go absolutely at it, tooth and nail, and this is going to be an absolute slobber knocker going into the first semi.
I was wondering when you're going to break out that term.
Sorry,
that was funny. When I was thinking, maybe I'd bring it up, but I wanted you to do it. I gave that one to you. But
it's more of a US phrase, but I'll take it this time.
Oh man, that was a good one. But this is a matchup for the history books because we got a little bit of revenge here at DreamHack Dallas. This was actually the 3rd, 4th place decider, and Yafire actually took down Jaeger to claim that 3rd place decider. So this is a little bit of revenge, as we saw Jägermeister going to look to try and take down Yafire to advance in the tournament. That's something certainly he's going to be in the back of his mind for sure. Yafire also the same thing, not only because he just faced Jägermeister as well, but he knows that he can beat him. So again, depending on how these players want to play it out, there's going to be a little bit of a strategy change, a little bit of a different mindset coming into this matchup. We've seen time and time again.
And remember, guys at home, before these guys were pro players, these were all just average Joes, just like you at home, just playing casually, having fun, then slowly getting competitive, then get even more competitive, and then starting to sweat a little bit more, and then they started getting to the tournament scene, and here they are. So if you want to be like them, make sure you get involved in all our tournaments or any competitions. It's open to absolutely everyone, so keep an eye on our socials and our website and in-game events for more information, because there's plenty more where that came from. But, speaking of that, though, we'll continue on anyway. It's like I said before, these players, back in my day, I've never heard of any of these. And now, when I came back in 2019, there was all these new faces have already built such a great reputation, and it was just unbelievable. And you got to remember, these guys once before, they had never, ever been a part of any kind of competition, just like us, you know, the usual jobs, students at college, whatever. And now they're here playing on the biggest stage, and you guys could be one of them at home. You guys can play like a pro, just like any of these players here, and they've got plenty more events coming up in the future. So make sure you keep a little lookout and keep your eyes peeled to find out for more information, because I can tell you now, this won't be the last one, that's for sure. But going into this matchup here, it's tough to say because it's like I said before, your fire has been looking very strong, like very, very good. He's playing like it's a time trial, and I actually mean that as well. The last 12 months, I remember your fire, you know, a year or two ago, he would play the same as he would now, but he would not be as successful, shall we say, with taking some of these risks, not just with the usual wall rides, but, you know, with the rail jumps he does, these massive risks he takes just to get extra mileage when he's up in the air, or, you know, just to try and close the gap, or extra nitro, all that jazz. And it's nice to see him finally be able to be highly consistent at that pace on a stage like this.
No, absolutely. And it seems like he's sort of catching up to Jaeger in terms of like the status and the legend, because Jaeger just has so many championships under his belt, so many finals appearances. You fire a little more of a recent addition to the Asphalt lineup. So again, you have that going on here. But the other thing you want to talk about is the rivalry as well. We just had that third, fourth place decider back at Dallas that went Yafire's way. So sort of catching up to Jaeger in terms of status. But, you know, just in terms of like actual experience, you want to give the edge a little bit to Jaeger here. But in terms of recent results, it's Yafire. So this is definitely going to be anyone's game, as here we go on Cairo for our first track between Yafire and Jaeger.
Yeah, Yafire's been looking pretty damn good. Like I said, he's, as you mentioned, came top 4 earlier on in the year. He's already guaranteed another top 4, but wants to add a little bit more to his resume, trying to get at least a guaranteed place in the final. But we'll have to see now as Jaeger just slowly behind him, but it's actually gained up a little bit of speed and momentum there, as you saw just about a couple of tenths of a second there. Ooh. Beautiful forward roll there coming out from Jaeger to close the gap even further. You can see that Yafire wasn't really too keen on making that risk, decided to play it safe, because why not? It is one of those tracks where you don't have to worry a little bit too much here, but at some stage, the risks will have to come into fruition for Yafire's side. But looking damn good so far, go around this bend over the jump with that shockwave, looking to go around this next bend as well, and approaching the end of this first lap.
Yeah, this is one of the shorter Cairo tracks, so every little millisecond matters, every little decision matters, and it seemed like Jaeger, even though he was going for those forced barrels, doing a really good job of executing those maneuvers, and that rail jump gonna do perfectly, gonna do wonders, actually, I should say. This lead is even shorter than I ever imagined. I thought Yafire was just gonna swing it on this second lap with a big victory, but it looks like Jaeger ever so slightly trying to catch up, and he seems like he's making up for those little tiny mistakes in the first lap.
Oh, they both managed to rail ride that last bit as well, but you can see Jaeger's not going for the forward barrel roll this time around, decided to give it a miss. And he probably wish he didn't now, because he's probably a little bit further behind by another tenth of a second here. But Yafire's been so good. His nitro management has been absolutely key. Always been on the inside, keeping that, all the micromanagement he's been doing here, then absolutely everywhere, just to keep maintaining this lead. It's been nothing short of spectacular so far. And Jaeger going to go for that shotgun once again, see if he can get another opportunity. One more where I could probably do it, but the only problem is, though, there's no limits to his opportunities here. He's very limited, shall I say. And it looks like Yafire will be able to take charge. Lovely rail ride there, but it's not going to happen here. Yafire will be getting first blood by taking victory in this first race in the first semi-final.
There we go. You can see the thumbs up. That was a close race. It got really, really tight towards that second lap. You saw Jaeger absolutely trying to close that gap there with those barrel rolls. The forced barrel rolls were quite a good maneuver, but it seemed like he was bumping the wall sometimes on that first lap. So I think that sort of messed him up just a little bit, sort of caught him off kilter a little bit. You saw that Yafire just completely maintained composure. Probably looking at that mini-map, getting a little scared, trying to see Jaeger in the rearview mirror. I mean, that's definitely going to be one of the most intimidating things you got to see in your rearview mirror, is just this absolute titan coming up against you. So great job for Yafire defending that lead in that second lap, especially just not really taking any super crazy maneuvers or anything like that. Just well, clean, concise racing, and he takes the lead here on this first map.
It was very clean. I think even if you saw that Jaeger actually successfully doing that forward barrel roll again halfway through the second lap, I don't think it would have made too much difference, but it would have put the pressure on Yafire. That's when you're pushing him to maybe think, I should probably do one more risk beforehand. But Yafire was taking all these risks anyway, so it didn't really matter too much at all. And as you can see, all the trophies, all the history there behind him with Ferrari. Again, thank you to everyone at Ferrari for everything. Literally spoiled us rotten for the entire weekend. And now it looks like these players want to make history books as well by being the next Asphalt Series champion as your fire. It's going to be the one behind Jaeger. Let's see what he can do, but using an accidental 360 there, that's going to cost him dearly. Goodness me, at least 3 seconds behind. But this is all in your fire now. You make no mistakes, my friend. You're into the finals.
Oh my gosh, your fire on Rome could make history in Italy, both in game and in real life here as he takes Jaeger possibly 2-0. That's going to be an insane maneuver there. It looked like Jaeger was trying to do a little bit of a 360, maybe try and get that floaty drift going, but accidentally just bumped up against the wall. So your fire's either going to have to make some crazy mistake or Jaeger's going to have to pull out some crazy thing that we've never seen before. Seems like your fire, though, he was absolutely locked in. We know he's a jolly guy in real life, but you could see on the camera, he just no emotions, trying to feel nothing whatsoever, trying to lock in and make sure every point of his game was there. And it seems like he's going to actually execute on all the different things he was talking about with the strategies here on Rome. Going into the second lap on the straightaway, he has everything here on this second lap for him to go. And it seems like, yeah, this lead is just even more extended. Another accidental 360 from Jaeger. And you can see, oh my gosh, on Yafire's map, Jaeger isn't even on the mini map.
That's when you know that it's... Do you know what's funny? Like, when you see that, like, it is both back of his mind. You're probably thinking, am I literally on top of him, like, on the mini-map? Well, obviously, he's not like that at all. But yeah, once you've seen you've got a clean mini-map, it's the best feeling, especially in a tournament environment when you know that you're going to be successful, you're going to be able to clean up this series, and it will be able to take it. So it looks like Jaeger did wreck again. He was probably trying to do some other high-risk maneuver, but it just wasn't going to happen. But to see how this is going to go, we're going to wait for things to finish off because I don't know put any justice there for your fire, but I'm sure this is going to be pretty much one and done anyway. So your fire just looking to try and clean this up nicely, just keep it as safe as physically possible. Jaeger right now at least 7-8 seconds behind, so he needs an absolute miracle to anything to happen in.
And there we go. Revenge, you talk about it as a dish best served cold. It's not even on the menu for Jaeger as your fire takes it clean, control, concise here on the second track. Rome, it's taken, and there we go. What an incredible finish there by your fire.
Your fire taking victory there, 2-0 in this first semi-final. Commiserations to Jaeger. Sadly, we will not see him in the final, but we will see him in the third place playoff later on. So we haven't seen the last of him yet, but at least we see a little, another piece of Jaeger later on. But he'll be playing the loser of the second semi-final, and we can see your fire back on the desk once again. I did say you'll probably come back in about an hour. So congratulations once again. Very clean, very good, but I'm going to give you a nice, easy question. How are you feeling now going into the final?
Pretty stable, pretty stable. Clean performance right now. Everything flicked perfectly. Nicely done, I'd say. But Jaeger, have to give a shout out to him. Great guy, great personality. He got it in his hands. Everything is possible, man.
Absolutely. Jaeger, a fantastic player, always has been for the last 4 or 5 years. And don't worry, we'll see him again in the third place playoff later on. But you must feel quite relieved now that you're in the final, just one more match, and this is yours. This will be, I believe, your first title, though, if you do manage to take it. But what makes it more at ease, you could say, you won't have to deal with a best of 3. It'll be a best of 7. So you've got plenty of room to try and... Nothing about consistency or anything like that. Honestly, it looks like best of 3s is your cup of tea. You seem to be pretty good at best of 3s, not going to lie. But it must be a bit of a relief now that with best of 7, if you do falter on some certain tracks here and there, it's not too much of a worry for you. You'll be still in a safe place.
Yeah, man. We'll see how it ends up. Hopefully, there's no physics included.
No, that's true. You never know. But how do you feel, though? Last question. How do you feel going into the final? Well, it's like I said, this will be your, first offline final. This could also be your first chance to win a major championship. Do you feel like a lot of pressure on your shoulders, or do you feel a little bit relieved now that you made it to the final? You're in a good place. It's just a matter of, making it or breaking it.
Yeah, feeling a little bit relieved, of course. I've been there, so gotta grab the deal. Go home or go home.
Yeah, exactly. Go home with all those goodies. That's the main thing, isn't it? But congratulations once again. We'll see you in the finals later on. And again, yeah, just a real pleasure to watch overall. So what can I say? It's been absolutely marvellous. But before we go into our next match, we will have a little sponsor video for you. But before we go into it, I must say, yeah, what a great way to start things off. And with that second semi-final as well coming up, it's absolutely no idea how things are going to go. But before we head into it, we have a little sponsor video for you guys at home to check it out before we head into the second semi-final.
That I do it so good. Look at the way that I do what I should. Look at the way that I got you amazed. You should see the look on your face.
This is not just a car. It's a 230-mile-an-hour fuel-injected data processing machine, sensing heat, pressure, friction, fuel, producing more than 1 million data points every second. This is not just an app. It's an AI-powered platform translating data into insight and fueling a fan base of millions. The new Scuderia Ferrari HP app with AI-generated content and insights built with IBM Watson X.
Can't let my son watch that. I've got too much Lego at home. But I might have to get that one for myself. Maybe a little bit different.
Maybe, yeah.
But yeah, honestly, let's talk about it. We've got that second semi-final. Your thoughts on Dark Hyper versus 60 coming up?
As you mentioned, El Clasico coming up right here. Two titans of Asphalt legends clashing here. It's going to be an insane one. Honestly, this is another really hard to predict final here for this matchup. Oh man, I'm struggling to have any thoughts on this because they are almost at this equal level. Again, he's mentioned before they've sort of matched up every once in a while, so it seems like they have a rivalry going on here. They've probably studied each other's game every once in a while, getting some VOD reviews. So honestly, I think for this time, it really pans out who has the little tricks up their sleeve, right? Instead of clean, controlled racing, it's going to be who can take that little bit of a risk depending on the game plan coming out, and maybe they've just been secretly hiding something, again, up their sleeve that they haven't talked about right up until this moment. And again, having something in your back pocket to take that lead, that's going to make the difference.
I feel like with Dark Hyper, we haven't seen enough in terms of him with clear indicators on how this is going to go. Reason being is both of the races we saw in that first quarterfinal, it was by his opponent's, self-infliction. So it was just him playing safe in both races back to back. So we never really saw, the core inner side of Dark Hyper on the true potential we can really bring here. So that's why I'm still a little bit curious on what we can find out here from them. But we know nevertheless it's going to be an absolutely spectacular second semi-final. And remember, the winner of this matchup will face against a very strong Yafaya in the final to find out who will be crowned champion here at the Ferrari Esports Asphalt Series 2025. But the loser, again, will be not completely out, but just half out, half not. They will be in the third place playoff later on. But yeah, it's like you said, it's very hard to predict. And speaking to a lot of the players, they feel like it's very map dependent, depending on the circumstances.
Yeah, and we saw a little bit, as you were mentioning, like the other opponent's sort of self-inflicted wounds sort of taking them down. Same thing with Dark Hyper versus Future Flash. Future Flash was wrecking on that second track, so I think that really gave him the edge in terms of confidence as well. He said that Future Flash was a little overconfident, so maybe you could see like going in between Sukti versus Dark Hyper, depending on which player, again, has that confidence to go for those risky maneuvers. Again, I think in terms of raw skill, you can put these players up against each other. You would say, though, Sukti having 13 previous finals appearance versus Dark Hyper's 7 title appearances, there's definitely a little bit of that veteran gap. Not huge by any stretch of the imagination, but again, you have that little bit of veteran edge going to Sukti here for this matchup.
Yeah, certainly is indeed. He's more locked in now. Before it was all smiles, but now he knows that he's just one step away from making it into the grand finals. And here we go, going to be kicking things off here and find out who's going to be coming out trumps in this first race. Both of the 360 over that first jump. Use that brake nitro trick to go around to this next corner into the shockwave. As you can see here, 60 trailing behind, only by a tad, but it's early days yet. Very early days.
Yeah, here we go. Coming out swinging. They are both neck on neck. There's really nothing you can really say right now. It's going to go onto those sections up above the Golden Gate Bridge. That's going to be quite interesting. Trying to use that brake nitro to try and slow down the deceleration. Little bit of bumping action going on here. Trying to get some blocking action from Dark Hyper to make sure that Suki doesn't really have an opportunity to keep the lead. He's going to go for a little bit of that inside. Try and go for the tight corner there. And instead, just an overtake right on the inside. Blocking on the barrel roll. Suki just overtakes ever so slightly over the Golden Gate Bridge. Here we go. But right under comes, oh my gosh, Suki just absolutely nailing that barrel. But Dark Hyper going right underneath, overtaking.
In terms of physics, I don't even know how on earth he actually managed to come out on top of that. That was absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, no,
but
not on the back.
Oh my
Recovers
goodness, it was able to land back on top. And it's
Blocking
still
into the
neck
wall.
and neck, the collisions. And that was only the first lap. Cardiac arrest is coming soon.
Oh man, my heart is pumping. Absolutely. Gloves are off here between Suki and Dark Hyper. That was an insane first lap. Will it continue going on again in the second lap on San Francisco? We're going to have to see again. It got a little bit spicy there towards the Golden Gate Bridge, but Suki maybe having a little bit of nerves. He now has the lead. Maybe he doesn't know what quite to do with it. He's going to do a 360 floaty drift. Dark Hyper a little bit catching up to do, going over that little air gap there. Oh, almost a barrel. Recovers it perfectly in time, not to make sure that he wrecks, but that lead ever so slightly going in favor of Suki.
In all fairness, Dark Hyper didn't lose too much time, which is a little bit of a shocker here. Nice little barrels there.
Here we go.
Kept the height low as well. He's trying to go for it. He'll still land, which is fine, but will it be safe? Yes, he does. He managed to do it again. And he's literally going up on top of him now, but will he be able to stay alive? He does manage to stay back on top, but literally going down to the final bin now as they're both trying to get around his last corner, but Sushti's on the outside. Dark Hyper is just able to take it. Goodness me.
Oh, man.
We should have seen 4 wrecks there, at least.
That was absolutely crazy. GG's for that race. That was one of the closest ones we've seen so far. Oh my gosh, those crazy barrel rolls underneath the overtakes over the Golden Gate Bridge. I've never seen anything like it.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Dark Hyper's cool as a cucumber. It's probably he hasn't raced yet.
I know, yeah, absolutely. There we go. Oh man.
Honestly, that should be 4 or 5 wrecks. Like, I don't know how on earth that will happen. That was absolutely insane.
A little
It really
bit of luck
was.
sprinkled in there, maybe. You know? Almost flipping on the turtle on the back, but ever so slightly just bouncing off right back to recovery mode. But that was one of the closest races I've seen in a while. Those overtakes, especially on that last corner, was absolutely insane. You had no idea who was going to take it right up until the final moment.
We've seen some, shall we say, dodgy City by the Bay tracks in our time, but yeah, that was absolutely crazy. But second race coming up, I'm looking forward to it after that one, considering the circumstances of that last one. But it's good though. I feel like we saw a little bit more of Dark Hyper in terms of his character in game. He's come more out of his shell, and now I was kind of like second guessing how he's going to perform against 60, but now after what we just witnessed, yeah, you know, it's looking good, looking good. But let's get straight back into it, into the second race, and find out how things are going to come up. If Suchti now can try and tie this up, or Dark Hyper will be able to solidify a 2-0 victory and meet with your fire in the grand finals.
Here we go. Shanghai, a very technical track. Every single corner is going to matter in every single ramp because there's not quite a lot of them. Looks like they're going to try to do the forced airtime here on the side here of the bridge going off the track. There you go. You can see trying to get the airtime. And for those of you at home, 30% you can get as a top speed advantage, but the inside line from Suki, I'm going to be quiet. This is some intense racing. I'm trying to explain what's going on, but I shouldn't because Suki is just barely overtaken. Dark Hyper right on the trail, right in that rearview mirror. He's not quite far behind. This could be anyone's race, but Suki with an insane overtake.
Certainly was indeed, but 60, as you can see, consistency is prevailing at the moment as he's going around this next bend. Got the shockwave in his back pocket as he goes up this next jump. Got a little bit too much height for his liking, but the shockwave coming out and going around this corner, he's not going to be doing too bad at all in the slightest. I'm not a personal fan of his jumps sometimes, but he's playing it safe here. Lovely stuff from 60 once again. Remember, this is only the first lap as Dark Hyper's directly on his tail here.
It
looks like there's a little bit of a step up, not really too short, but actually it looks like he's closed the gap.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is so close on the minimap. They're right on top of each other. This is insane. I was saying earlier, if you go in the air, you get a 30% speed bonus. That's going to be absolutely crucial, especially on this track where you don't have that many opportunities to go in the air. You can see both of them trying to drift, get all 4 tires off the road to get that boost. It's so close. You can see on the minimap, they're right on top of each other. Absolutely at any moment, there could be the inside overtake, but Suki doing a great job blocking the line from Dark Hyper, making sure you can't overtake. And everything matters in this one. He has to tie this up 1-1 to continue in the tournament.
Yeah, he's body blocking very well at the moment, but he's only got a small amount of time left. As Sushti looking to try and tie this up and takes it to a third race, but Dark Hyper isn't really in the mood to go for that. He's been on his tail for the entire time, probably just a few tenths of a second here. May have to do some high-risk maneuver in order to try and overtake him. He is running out of time, but as you can see, they're almost on top of each other again on this mini-map. Depending on how this jumper is going to go, Suchi seems to be able to continue maintaining this lead. But third place to Suchi at the moment. Let's just see what Dark Hyper could do here. But will he be able to? No, he does not. He left the track. You can see that high maneuver did not pay off at all. But Suchi looking very, very good. One apiece here between the two, and again, didn't expect anything less.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're going for a third again. That was absolutely insane. Great racing from both players. That was one of the closer ones we've seen. Not quite as like nail-biting as some of the others, but you could see in the mini-map there was just basically no difference throughout the majority of this race. So very technical track, like I said. So, you know, not the most crazy action like we saw in some of the other tracks, but if you want to talk about how to do strategy in asphalt, how to take your lines as cleanly as possible, that's the race to watch, honestly.
Yeah, cool, calm, and collected the entire time. And the fact that he maintained that lead with the pressure for the entirety of that map was just ridiculous, honestly. And it's a real, real gift from him as well to be able to maintain it. But a little bit different now, though, going to this third race. You can see both players very keen, very eager to get into that grand final. Probably the last person you want to face, your Fire, considering what we witnessed the entire time. But these two players will definitely give it a damn good shout out as well, because every single one of these players still in the competition have been real juggernauts for the entirety of the weekend. And yeah, it's going to be a real joy to watch. I don't care who wins in this grand final. We know that it's going to be a spectacle.
Truly the El Clasico of the matchup here today,
Absolutely.
ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely.
That was some insane racing between Sukti and Dark Hyper. So yeah, whoever wins that race is going to finish with your Fire there, trying to compete for that grand finals. But we are going right into this third track. It's Nevada to take it all to the grand finals. Dark Hyper versus Sukti.
Yeah, Dark Hyper riding that LATAM flag. He's the only representative here, and he's represented them very well, guaranteeing himself top 4. But he wants a little bit more of that top 2 if he can. And it's neck and neck once again. Suchi, beautiful shockwave going to that previous jump. And it looks like Suchi will have to lead. But I'm talking like a 10th or 2 of a second here. It's going to be very cautious here. Dark Hyper looking to try and get into the inside with the shockwave. Manages to. But you can see that Suchi was trying to avoid from getting body blocked in any way to lose speed.
No, he didn't want to be bumped off the track or into the barrier. We saw that almost happening in some of the earlier races. But as a result of Suki maybe trying to play a little safer instead of trying to block his line, going for the rail jump, that's going to get him a little more speed, ever so slightly creeping up to Dark Hyper, but it's not going to matter too much. He does have that shockwave going into the air. That's going to give him a little bit of an advantage. So going on to the straightaway, it looks like Dark Hyper maintaining his lead.
And that's done indeed, but some people normally try, and you can tell that Dark Hyper was keeping that complete inside portion of that bend blocked off in case Suchi does make a little cheeky attempt to go there, but it's not going to be a case. Suchi was well aware of that and didn't even bother attempting it. Wasn't even close enough to attempt at the time, as we're going to finish off this first lap. But yeah, still a lot to play for here. Still at least another minute to minute and a half to find out if Dark Hyper can try and secure this victory and maintain it, or if Suchi's going to say differently. But I must say here, Marth, he is closing that gap slowly but surely.
It is really close. It came down to the small details. You saw Suki didn't quite have enough nitro for some of the shockwave jumps that Dark Hyper did. I think that's what really gave him the edge here in that first lap, was Dark Hyper just having that acceleration from shockwave. It's the best type of nitro you use to get out of a corner right into the top speed. Perfect nitro more for the corners, but it looks like, yeah, we got some size from the audience because that was a little bit of a failed whip there from Suki trying to get that slight edge. Another failed 360. I think that's going to cost him.
Yeah, that's going to cost him a lot of time. And, you know, it's gone from costing him a little bit of time to potentially guaranteeing Dark Hyper the victory here. Very, very unfortunate. But I must say, Dark Hyper's lines throughout the last minute and a half of this map has been perfection. It's been, yeah, absolutely faultless here. So it looks like we only got a couple bends left until Dark Hyper will be able to finish this race and the series, as he will be the next contender going in to the semi-final. I know it's not always a guarantee, but I always like to wait till he at least cross the line because you're never sure. But there we have it. Dark Hyper will be securing victory in the second semi-final and will be greeted with your Fire in the grand finals later on. But don't worry, though, we will be seeing the likes of Suchi in the third place playoff against Jaeger later. Actually, funny enough, that's kind of like an old... It's like basically an old-fashioned EU Android standoff from back in the day.
Yeah.
You can see Dark Hyper very, very happy. The only LATAM representative here riding in Colombia, and he's now here continuing to ride that flag proudly and seeing if he can maybe take home the crown and take things further. We'll have to see it later on this evening. But for now, though, got another little sponsor video for you guys before we get our next matchup underway. The next matchup will be our third place playoff. But before we do that, little video for you guys at home. We'll see you in a sec.
should. Look at the way that I got you amazed. You should see the look on your face.
This is not just a car. It's a 230-mile-an-hour fuel-injected data processing machine, sensing heat, pressure, friction, fuel, producing more than 1 million data points every second. This is not just an app. It's an AI-powered platform translating data into insight and fueling a fan base of millions. The new Scuderia Ferrari HP app with AI-generated content and insights built with IBM Watson X.
And we are back here for our third place playoff. It will be between the likes of Jaeger and Suchti. And, you know, being from EU, done a lot of his EU broadcasts, and Suchti versus Jaeger was once upon a time a nice Android favourite, a nice standoff. We saw quite a lot of these rivalries between the two. And it feels like 2021 again, 2022, where, you know, they're back at it once again, but now it was in the offline environment. But you must be very excited to see these two go at it. Yep, sure, they're not in the grand final, but I'm sure they're going to put on a stellar performance.
Definitely a little bit of nostalgia, a little bit there going on, because we've seen these players before going head-to-head, but this one should be an absolute banger. Again, for that third, fourth place decider, Jaeger versus Suchti. These players know each other very, very well, so I'm curious to see how this one's going to pan out. It's going to be a banger.
Yeah, it certainly will do. That is going to be an understatement here. It's going to be a nice little starter before we hit the main course, you know, between
Right, yeah.
But in all fairness, all of these matches could be main courses. It's just waiting for my dessert, really. But yeah, these two should be going absolutely at it, and it will be interesting to see who goes ahead and manages it through, because these guys, you know, not only win like the Czechs and all that jazz, they win lots of Ferrari goodies as well, such as the endurance racing sunglasses, Ferrari Puma backpack, the BO Play X Ferrari edition, the Charles Leclerc mini helmet, the 2024 edition, and that's just some of the stuff. Like, this is just a portion of what we're talking about, and it's very great to see like Ferrari not only just spoiling all of us rotten with the tour and like the venue and everything else, but the prize is just to go with it.
Absolutely. The privilege to come here to Maranello has been absolutely insane, and it's been a journey of a lifetime, to be honest. I mean, just seeing the aura and all the trophies, all the Formula One drivers here, and the cars behind us is just one of the coolest stages ever in the world.
Yeah, you can't, yeah. If anyone says it's not a good stage, I don't know what more you want. Let's put it that way. Let's put it that way. But yeah, you are right, though. It is just magnificent. I think even when we first walked in here, I was like, oh, this is great. And then they were like, oh, this is going to be the stage. And I was like, are you trolling me? And they're like, no. And I was like, wow. Like, this is like absolutely incredible. So, like, you know, being surrounded history, and we've got players at the moment making history as well, as this third place playoff will be getting underway very shortly. And we said it before, I'm going to say it again for like the 10,000th time. You guys at home could be one of these players. Make sure to keep an eye on the competitions, not just in-game, but on the website and on our socials as well. As all of these players, you know, including ourselves, all used to be average Joes, and now they are some of the top players in the business. And it's not a closed competition, you guys. It's all open to the public, so make sure you guys get involved and stay interactive. And as you can see, with the tracks going into this third place match, we've got Ancient Ruins followed by Parasol Run and then Thousand Minarets. It's a shame actually, because I know your fire's pretty damn good at that mapping.
Yeah.
That's not even going to be in the pool now.
Oh, I know. Yeah, he was probably looking forward to that one, unfortunately. But this is a good track list. This is a solid one for us here. Nothing super crazy. I think Paris was probably the track you'd look at and be a little bit different compared to previous competitions. Something that maybe there's a little bit more strategy going on. Again, we mentioned earlier, those racing lines are really, really important in Paris because you don't have as many opportunities for barrel rolls and ramps and airtime and things like that. So definitely all about the like different racing lines and how clean you can keep the racing. So I think that second track is going to be very, very vital to this best of three third place decider.
Yeah, it certainly will be indeed. And it's sad to see him go, but also at the same time, it's nice to see, you know, just one last time get a little bit of a glimpse of exactly what they're going to be up to and what exactly we're going to expect going to this third place playoff. But I must say, in terms of the variety of what we've got in this best of three, we could have had a lot worse. Let's put it that way.
Totally.
I don't mind, you know, I get a little bit flimsy when I see like 2 maps, which I'm not really too keen on, but the variety we've got here is very, very good. And you can see as well, like some of the helmets, some of the bits and pieces, a lot of history here at Ferrari as well. And it's like I said, we've been surrounded by it for, you know, the last few days. We could probably stay around it for another month longer if we wanted to, but honestly, yeah, it's been a real pleasure. And thank you to Ferrari once again, but not just for the prizes for the players, but, you know, absolutely spoiling us rotten with the venue and, you know, the entire tour. It's been absolutely fantastic. But also, like I said, guys at home, actually, speaking of you guys at home, you guys are probably still asking about the the code, you know, you want your blueprints, your credits, your tokens, all that jazz. Don't worry about it. There's going to be more and more coming on the way. I'm sure a few have already dropped already, but there's going to be a few more to come, so make sure you stay tuned. But you see, both players are just getting settled at the moment, probably getting prepared for the first match. But yeah, I am looking forward to this.
No, this is going to be exciting. There's a lot of tension building up here. We know these two juggernauts of Asphalt history. They have so much VOD review on each other. So again, going to come down to the strategies, a little bit of those risks here and there. I mean, we talk about how the meta has just updated and evolved over the past couple of years, but here we go. Enough about technical talk. It's all about what happens on the asphalt between Sukti and Jaeger.
Heading over to Scotland now and see how things are going to turn out here. Jaeger's going to be getting first blood in terms of the lead at the very get-go. He's going to be waiting for that shockwave, and then can see how this next few barrel rolls are going to go. Looks like it's been pretty successful. Used the drift as well, just to basically better safe and sorry, been hitting that top of the cliff. And 60's not really too far behind. Both from wall riding as well on that jump, just for the mileage and the speed as well. And he managed to keep the straight jump as well. Absolutely neck and neck between the two as they're trying to go past each other. They're both doing the exact same weight jump. That is absolutely insane here, Marv.
Oh my gosh, that was so close. Looked like it was going to be a little bit of a failed jump there in terms of the landing, but they both nailed it. They both stuck the landing perfectly, but Jaeger came out a little bit on top, but ever so slightly with that shockwave. Sukti getting a little bit of the advantage in the air. Looks like he's going a little bit higher though. That's going to give Jaeger a little bit of the advantage, but we still have one entire lap to go, and it's anyone's game at this point.
Certainly is indeed. Neck and neck. 60 only behind by a couple of tenths of a second there. Nice break nitro here as he comes around this next bend. Decides to prioritise the barrel roll, but you can see Jaeger playing a little bit safe, just going for the straight jump as he's absolutely no reason not to. He knows he's got enough time ahead of him here, but he's actually gone a little bit too far up here above that cliff, but still now 60 has taken the lead.
There we go. Precise technical movement from Jaeger. He's actually going to go for a different track. He's going to go for the different route here, going for that right-hand side. Let's see how it works out. He's going to go for the jump. Oh, it just fails. That was so close. That had to be the risk that he had to take, but it just didn't quite work out. Oh, man. So Sukti has a commanding lead here. He's definitely going to take this first track. Props to Jaeger, though. That got really close there in the end. If he made it, it was really close. It was going to be anyone's game at that point.
Yeah, 60's laughing all the way to the bank here. Just no more fumbles from him. Doing the usual shockwave thing. Don't do that at home. It doesn't make you any faster.
Yeah.
Ignore him. Ignore him. He's just, he thinks it's funny.
That's almost BM at that point.
It literally was. Jaeger just crossing over to the finish line, and that's it. All done and dusted here. Great way to start off his first race.
You can see they're even talking with each other there, trying to determine what exactly happened. I mean, Jaeger probably explaining you had to do what you had to do to try and get that victory, but yeah, it was so close. Again, I was talking about earlier, these players have so many VODs on each other, so you have to really pull out like every single thing that maybe you have something slightly up your sleeve that you just haven't really brought out just until this moment, and I think that was something from Jaeger that we didn't quite see before. We saw it played earlier. Ancient Ruins was earlier on in the quarterfinals, I believe, and that route was just, we didn't see it, right? We always saw everyone going to that right-hand side. Jaeger obviously trying to make sure that he has something up his sleeve that he was going to pull out, maybe just because he lost that lead. So props to him, GG's, because that was a really close race, but in the end, it was Sukti maintaining that safe mode there at the end.
It's quite funny because that one jump which Jaeger had too much height on, it's weird because we all know that jump very well, and normally when you just clip the top of the cliff, it's okay, you can just rebalance and then carry on forward. But the fact that you got so much height, that's actually quite rare considering.
No, totally. There's so much airtime, so many airspeed tricks that you guys saw. If you're trying to learn how to play Asphalt, again, going for that 30% buff in speed if you get that airtime, watching all those players do those rail jumps, smacking against the rock to try and bounce your car up, that's the exact move that you want to do to try and maximize your time in the air. These players were doing it in spades. Unfortunately, the time for Jaeger trying to bounce off that cliff didn't quite work out for him, but again, you just have to risk it for the biscuit here in any of these races.
Yeah, sometimes you've got to do absolutely anything, and you may question yourselves, why do I take the risk, why do I take this risk, and etc, but sometimes you have to in order to make an effort to try and overtake, especially if it's the second lap and you're halfway through it. You need to make ends meet, and if you don't, then you're just going to end up trailing behind it with a loss anyway. You can't always expect your opponent to be, you know, self-inflicted in some way, but you know, with Scotland, some of the tracks, yeah, it is possible, but you could see in the limelight it wasn't really too much of the track left to go, and it was basically an easy portion. So yeah, that was going to be it for him, sadly. But still got potentially a couple more races left to go. But yeah, I would like to see a 3 racer before we head into grand final. Don't know what your thoughts are.
Oh, totally. A 3 race. That is going to be insane. But here we go. Paris, this is for all the marbles for third place. Can Sukti take it home, or will Jaeger manage to catch up and tie this match? We're going right here on Paris. Double barrel roll for both of them. Quite tricky to do on this ramp, especially Jaeger going to do another one right there. But you can see Sukti not far behind, trying to go for the inside with the block. Jaeger ever so slightly going to make sure he pulls out with that lead. That was a close call for Jaeger. He almost lost it, but he maintained that block, made sure that Sukti didn't take advantage of that inside line, and you can see he now has this lead. Similar position to what happened early on last time, so it all comes down to if Jaeger makes any sort of mistakes here.
Yeah, done indeed, but still on his tail. Sukti just knocking on the door, basically, making sure that he's basically saying, hello, I want to really try and get this 2-0 victory and take that third place finish. Jaeger's having absolutely none of it at the moment. And as you rightly remember, you know, this is a track where there isn't really too much in terms of high-risk, high-reward plays to try and close the gap. So if Sukti keeps leaving it any longer, then it's going to be a tough nut to crack, and we know how consistent Jaeger can be. So this wouldn't surprise me if it does go to a race 3, but you never know. Anything could happen here.
Here we go. They're going for this inside line. Last time we saw them go around on the longer end. This is going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But as you said, not too many ramps. Here's one of them, so every single one matters. Getting the double barrel roll, that's going to give him a little bit more nitro. But as we come around here on the chicane, Jaeger going into that lap too, hits a little bit of the wall, clips it there just a little bit on the wing. Seems like he's going to be fine though going on the second lap. Still has this lead coming into the second lap of Paris.
As you rightly mentioned. Continuing with the second lap. Still plenty of way to go as of yet. This is quite a long track, so with Sukti, he's well aware of that and knows that still got a little bit of time. Plenty of time, yes, but in terms of high-risk, high-reward plays, very limited in terms of how he's going to close this gap. So just praying that Jaeger may make a little bit of slip up in the terms of his line refinements.
Yeah, that's really everything you could hope for at this point with Sukti is, right, like if Jaeger makes some sort of grave error or anything like that, not too many opportunities to do so. Again, Paris is all about lines, all about racing lines, making sure you cut the corners as closely as you can, making sure you take every apex, every millimeter to your advantage. And it seems like Jaeger has no intention of slowing down here as we narrow onto the second lap. It seems like he has everything to lose, nothing to gain, or maybe it's the opposite. I don't know. This is a fast race. We're trying to keep in moment here, but it looks like Jaeger, he's going to keep this line here going in for that inside. Sukti trying to do that little bump nitro trick, but it seems like that's going to cost him the lead. And there we go, Jaeger about to cross the finish line. We're going to go on this lap here. Yeah, you can see Sukti, he knows what's up. He knows it's just about to be a tied game here, but honestly, we got more asphalt action for you guys as Jaeger takes the finish line here on Paris and ties up this series.
Just like EU Android all over again. Just can't keep their hands off each other as we now go into the next one. Yeah, incredible stuff there. And it's, yeah, like I said before, you're very, very limited to what you can do to close the gap, isn't it? So you have to expect your opponents to maybe have the absolute worst, reckless lines possible. And at this level, you're not going to get it. Yeah, maybe by a tenth or two, but not by half a second to a second. It's just not going to happen.
No, especially on Paris, once you're behind, again, it's either a grave error from the other player or you got to pull out something that we've never seen before. On Paris, not quite many opportunities to do those airspeed tricks. Again, it's one of those tracks where you don't have many barrel rolls, many ramps or anything like that, but it's sort of balanced out by the fact that if you're a player and you don't quite know your lines, you're just going to get left in the dust, honestly, at the rearview mirror, because the racing lines on Paris are so important. Again, hitting every apex, making sure your chicanes are clean and concise. That's going to be the most important stuff for Paris, and we saw that in spades with Jaeger.
You should have that as a quote, know your lines. Especially on Paris, because on Paris, yeah, like I said before, very, very difficult to close a gap with some of the, you could say, more complex methods of closing it. And yeah, that was just a great example. You know, you're not going to really get much in terms of justice, but what we are going to get is our third track here. We're heading into Cairo to find out how things are going to happen here. But at least they won't be able to play chicken due to the collision thing at the very beginning, but I'm sure we'll get some of that later on. But you saw an extra barrel roll coming up from Sukti there. It's going to give him a little bit of extra boost there, a little bit of extra mileage there, but the collision finally comes out there, and you can see Sukti is able to take advantage of that with a tenth of a second of a lead here, with Jaeger still continuing to knock on the door.
Great adapting from Sukti. He knew he got bumped a little bit, so he went for the rail instead, but it looks like Jaeger trying to block on the inside line. He gets the overtake going into the double barrel roll now. Looks like both players are going to take it smooth and clean, but it seems like Sukti just so slightly didn't have quite the nitro. They're both going to go for the wall ride. Sukti gets it, but respawns at the last moment. That's going to give Jaeger a huge advantage early on in this race.
The size from the crowd, you know that is going to be it, sadly. Very, very unfortunate, but like I said, I'm not going to say anything yet until we get to the last 10%, then I'll be happy with the situation, knowing that Jaeger will take it. But yeah, and it's very unfair just the way that occurred.
Yeah. Now it's just all about playing safety there for Jaeger. Again, there's all the opportunity in the world to make a mistake. These pro players definitely don't do it that often. You wouldn't really want to expect it, and you wouldn't expect it because, again, these players, top 1% all the time, no matter what happens. But again, it's really just going to come down to, because this lead is so big for Jaeger, he's probably going to offer a little bit more of a safe route there, just trying not to wreck, because a wreck could give it over. You could see yourself losing those 5-10 seconds or so because of that. But it seems like Jaeger, again, just going for the safe lines, not going for any wall rides or anything, rail grinds or anything crazy like that, making sure to keep that line. Suki every once in a while closing the gap, but it seems like another 360 in the wrong direction. We've seen that a couple times here today. Very unfortunate, because that does lose you about a half a second or so. But it seems like Jaeger, just nothing but air between him and the finish line. There's nothing absolutely stopping him. Even going for the wall ride to try and flex on Suki, and unfortunately he fails it yet again. Again, going to extend this lead even further for Jaeger, and it seems like third place is within grasp for Jaeger.
It certainly is indeed. Even though it's not a final place, I think Jaeger's going to be happy with a third place finish, and Shitsti will be quite happy with the top 4, considering he had to play as Oyocha earlier on, which is no easy feat in itself. And he will be kicking himself a little bit, being able to defeat such an extraordinary player with, an incredible online reputation such as him, and then falling short. But that is going to be, it certainly was. But so it's done. Jaeger managed just to take it.
There we go.
And third place. A little bit squeaky, but manages to win 2-1 in the third place playoff. And not too shabby at all. You can still say you beat the majority of the competition at least.
Yeah, there you go. Third place is nothing to be disappointed at. Again, you want to be in that first place, second place area. But again, going up against Sukti, definitely a force to be reckoned with. So you're going to be happy with that performance if you're Jaeger. Again, maintaining the consistency too. Again, going to all these finals for so many years in a row, both these players doing the same, but Jaeger just edging out those slight victories every once in a while. You can see they're having the conversations about what was going on with the race. I mean, really intense racing. You saw just every little thing, every moment. Again, sometimes coming down to physics, sometimes coming down to just scraping the wall ever so slightly. But yeah, GG's. That was a great race. You could see they're hugging it out. That was just such a good race from both the players.
Good friends, same platform. We had similar finals as well back in the EU Android days, and it's very nice to see them be able to continue on forward. Oh, you come in.
Hello, my friend.
You, mate. Yeah, go on. Go on, have it. There you go.
So, yeah, I'm back. Hello.
Yeah, welcome back. Nice to have you back again. Yeah, very interesting third place playoff. And not only how do you feel going into that matchup, but are you quite happy with how you've performed, considering like the high caliber of players who is competing in this tournament? Are you happy with your placement? Are you satisfied, or do you feel like you could have done a little bit more?
I'll put it this way. I feel like my pace was definitely up there. It's just that I typically handle stress poorly, and today it was once again evident. So there's nothing much I could really do about it. I do feel like pace-wise I was doing pretty well. Especially I feel like in the third place bracket I did pretty goddamn well, but pace is not everything. You also have to be consistent. You have to be confident in your own abilities, and today I lacked a bit of it. So hopefully next time, maybe if there's gonna be next time, obviously if I make it, if there's, yeah, I guess we'll see.
Sometimes it doesn't matter how many events you've been to. You've been here plenty of times.
Oh, yeah.
The nerves are still there. It is a very stressful situation, considering in the back of your mind, you've been practicing for months and months and months, and finally it leads to this one moment where, you could be out within like 10 minutes. It's like a really scary thing.
It is
but,
scary, yeah.
But are you happy with, I know the stress got you, but are you happy with your performance nonetheless?
It's happy-ish. I won't say I'm fulfilled, because obviously I was hoping I could have actually gotten to the final stage, but today is not my day. There's not much I can really add to that.
It's not, but obviously it could have been a lot worse for you, so...
Oh, yeah. No doubt about that.
There's a light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. But you have performed, really well, even with the amount of stress you're under, and...
I'm surprised I was able to catch up, because after I was down 1-0 against Stukti, I was like, yeah, I don't care anymore. Yeah.
I was even saying to him, it's like EU regional Android all over again.
It's once more a pleasure, because he's the player I've been sharing the stage with the longest. He's been dominant in his years. Now, kinda, I am there, but he always delivers, and he also gave all his best. He definitely had a good chance to be against finals, but Hadar Hyper and him had incredibly close races. It was incredibly tough to predict how it will go. So very unfortunate for him that it all ended that way, but that's just, that's how unpredictable this game is, and yeah.
It really is unpredictable. That's
Yeah.
why I kind of like it a little bit as well. But you know, I prefer the skill ceiling rather than the unpredictability.
It's just
I
the
completely agree.
way too much is going on, and you can't really predict.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say anyway, congratulations with your
Yeah.
third place. You
Thank
did
you.
well anyways, considering.
Yeah.
So congratulations. And, you know, in my opinion, he's performed pretty well anyway.
Yeah.
And, yeah, next, we do have the grand finals coming up very shortly. But I'm going to annoy you at home. We are going to go for a short break before we head into that grand finals. So don't go anywhere as we're back in just a few minutes.
See you in a bit.
Hello, everyone. We are back here in Maranello, Italy, for the Ferrari Esports Asphalt Series 2025 Grand Finals. And yeah, this is going to be an absolute doozy here. It's been some very exciting stuff. Probably more of a unlikely final, I would like to say, because we probably thought, you know, another Nutter will appear, or Ichia maybe even coming to the works with his online reputation. Might see Future Flash make a reappearance. But we're actually going to see your fire against the likes of Dark Hyper. I would say unlikely, but in all honesty, every single one of his players, I mentioned at the very beginning of the show that there is no weak links here. And yeah, this is going to be a stellar way to close this tournament out.
Absolutely. This was definitely one of the most stacked brackets we have ever had in Asphalt Esports history. With that being said, these two were definitely like sort of dark horse contenders. We talked about Future Flash, Oyocha, some of the other players who were kind of a little bit on the favorite side this time around, but this matchup is certainly no joke. So this is going to be one heck of a ride for all you folks at home.
And you can see here in the bracket, we had the 2 semi-finals as Yafai was able to take down Jaeger. Switch T sadly lost to Dark Hyper in a very intense second semi-final. But Jaeger was able to take down Switch T in the end 2-1 in that third place match. But now we're heading to the grand final of Yafai versus Dark Hyper to find out who's actually going to be the champion for this year's Asphalt Series 2025. It's like you said, two dark horses. I think that's a definite correct representation of how you'd expect between these two. But honestly, how do you think this is going to go? Because you've got to remember, guys at home, this is a best of 7, not a best of 3.
Yeah, that's going to throw a spanner in the works for sure. A best of 7 has really been quite rare in the history of Asphalt Esports. We've seen a lot of best of 5 grand finals, and what I love is a good old best of 5 reverse sweep grand finals in esports. But best of 7, that's sort of unmanned territory. That's sort of going to be quite exciting for us. I will say, like, definitely, I would say Yafai, especially with the recent tournament wins, is going to be on that hot streak, tournament placings and whatnot. We've seen Dark Hyper in and around, especially like you said in that LATAM region, especially for sure, a very consistent player here for sure. But it seems like Yafai really has that sort of spark of confidence this time around. And as we mentioned earlier, that race with Dark Hyper previously, maybe a little bit you could put on the opponent making some slight mistakes sort of leading to that victory, whereas Yafai just had to cleanly race that whole time.
He certainly did indeed, and it's been, like, again, just incredible to watch, not just fan, but every single one of his players here coming into this competition. And you guys at home could be part of it as well. Just make sure to keep an eye on those in-game events or the announcements on our socials and our website as well. If you want to stay tuned and find out exactly more information about any other competitions or tournaments coming up, because it's like I said before, we was all average Joes once upon a time. All these players were, and now they've made to build a reputation for themselves and compete, and we still get new blood coming to the scene all the time without fail. Not even just here, but you've seen it, we've seen it in the time trials and the qualifiers so many times. We see a few of the same names popping up, but just not quite there yet, which I'm sure we'll pretty much see going into it. As you can see, the two players now, Yafai and Dark Hyper, just sitting down, getting prepared, getting ready for what I would assume would be an absolutely epic grand final.
You couldn't have a better stage. Museo Ferrari Maranello, the Formula One cars, the history you have. You walked into this room, there's a little sparkle, there's a little magic to this, and I hope we get to see some of that in the best of 7 grand finals. I'm sure we will. We got an awesome match lined up for you guys here today. Dark Hyper versus Yafai. It's going to be one for the history books.
And here we go. This is going to be the track list coming out. We'll be kicking off things in Rome for the capital of the world, and we'll go to Himalayas, San Francisco, Scotland, Osaka, Paris, and then a personal favourites from Yafai. We've got Cairo, 1,000 minutes. So, in all fairness, what's your thoughts on the track list which we're going to witness? A good variety again.
Yeah, really good diversity of tracks. We've got some top speed focused ones, one more focused on that sort of technical area. I am looking at those first two, though, Rome especially and Himalayas. That's going to be where I think there's sort of a little separation between these two players, because we saw in Himalayas there was a little bit of a difference between how the players sort of took the rail grinds, the different airspeed tricks, things like that. They're actually talking about it earlier, where sometimes certain cars maybe bounce up a little too high, maybe the rail isn't quite as stable as they would have hoped. So for this time around, I think that Himalayas track is definitely one you want to keep an eye out for.
And also, I'm not going to pray for a 4-0. I want as much action as possible. Let's take it to the 7th. 100%. Hopefully we can. We know 1,000 minutes is quite a long track, but that's fine. I want more the merrier. This is the point here going into it. But we have been quite lucky with the match. We've had a lot of 2-1s. We haven't had really many clean sweeps, which is kind of been anticipated considering the caliber of skill we've had from a lot of these players. It's, there is some tournaments where you can kind of look and feel like, in terms of this, it's, quite predictable. A clean sweep wouldn't go amiss. But with these guys at the moment, it's been absolutely top notch. And again, I'm very impressed with the skill ceiling and how they managed to increase it with their incredible consistency on some of these very, very tight tricks they need to perform.
No, totally. This has been definitely some of the closest racing we've seen in Asphalt Esports. I mean, previously, when we had the takedowns and whatnot, there was a lot of aggression there because you want to take advantage of that mechanic. This time around, it's all about blocking your opponent once you get that early lead. We saw a lot of that with the previous matchups with Jaeger, saw that a little bit with Future Flash. So this time around, again, all about that blocking, and I think these first couple of races are going to decide it because a best of 7 can be a little bit daunting. So I think whoever comes out swinging the hardest may be able to take it later on in the series.
It's all about who comes out on the gate strong, just to kind of make a statement to begin with, saying it's not going to be easy. And a quick question for me too. You know me, I love picking your brains. I really do. The fact that we've switched from, like, you know, potential takedowns, like you said, to involve more dirty and aggressive play. How do you feel now switching to the collision side of it rather than having to perform these takedowns? Because it was very anticlimactic a lot of the time when some of these takedowns took place, but if anything does happen with some of these collisions, at least we know it's not another 3 seconds and then it's all doom and gloom.
No, totally. That's a great question because these mechanics are really pivotal to how these players actually approach the game. When we were previously talking about the knockdowns, there was actually a little bit of skill involved in trying to stay right behind your opponent, but not quite close enough to get knocked down because players were afraid of doing it. This time around, though, it's all about blocking. It's all about contact, bumper to bumper, rail to rail. So again, you're sort of seeing a little bit more contact-based racing versus previously it was all about trying to overtake your opponent above, below, to the side, just to make sure you avoid someone in shockwave just because you may be afraid of getting knocked down. So again, here, it's all about collisions, all about that knock-on effect here because collisions are enabled. You do get that first 15 seconds of ghost, and again, a lot of players are going to try and take advantage of that. Even if you get that little slight lead just at the first 15 seconds, you're now in block mode. You can now take that first place position, block your opponent from trying to get the right lines, and you even saw that previously. A player would sacrifice the optimal route just to block the other player from doing the exact same thing. So again, it's all about maybe the player in second place getting something a little up their sleeve, trying to take advantage of that blocking mechanic, try and get above and beyond the other player, again, trying to get around the block because sometimes it can be a little frustrating if you're a player on a thinner track, maybe you're trying to get around the opponent. It doesn't seem like there's quite many opportunities. On Rome especially, that can be a little bit of a problem going through the Coliseum mode, especially that could be, but those open tracks like the Himalayas, there's so much verticality. You could totally take and overtake, again, bumping a little bit higher than your opponent. That's going to be really crucial, but honestly, in my opinion, it's a little better because then you're not afraid of the knockdowns. You can go for all these certain things, and if you bump into your opponent, it actually gets a little more cinematic because, again, you're just neck on neck. Someone doesn't just explode, and then there you go. That's the end of the race. So, again, it's all about maintaining your sort of distance between these opponents. Blocking is going to be very crucial.
Yeah, it's a massive, massive difference, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I really do prefer it because it's like I mentioned before, you know, with these wrecks and these takedowns, it was very anticlimactic, not just for the players themselves involved in the collision, but just for us as viewers. It was a little bit more of a nuisance more than anything because it's like, well, 2 more minutes now and wait till the race finishes. But I did make a few notes on your file beforehand. It's quite interesting actually because the way I wrote these notes, it made it look as though your fire's got no chance, when actually I knew full well he did. Like, for example, still looking for his first win. He's had a second a couple of times. He's got the weakest win rate out of all 8 players in the competition. And he's made 5 finals and only started, like, you know, I think it's about 4.5 years ago, something like that. So yeah. I think one of the big points in my notes is the fact that he's got the weakest win rate out of anyone else. Yet he's in the final.
I mean,
it's
there
unbelievable.
You go. Yeah, but you also, you know, Yafire, he is on fire with the recent 3rd place in Dallas. That's a little bit of a hot streak. We saw a little bit of an absence from Dark Hyper in terms of qualification, so I feel like Yafire does have a little bit more of that momentum, and we'll see if he can carry on this momentum. Welcome to the grand finals here at the Ferrari Esports Asphalt Series 2025. It's Yafire versus Dark Hyper to take it on Rome.
Let's absolutely get it here. Yafire already trying to make that statement, already just trying to have that early lead here by about half a second here. It's like a second, as I mentioned before, but he wants to make a statement, get out the gate strong just to make that initial impact, but we'll see how consistent that is going to go. Yafire and Dark Hyper both with that shockwave going with the initial jump here, but Dark Hyper has closed the gap just a tad here, considering the circumstances he was in earlier, and looking to try and close it even more. But at least with this map in particular, he does have room to try and close the gap with some certain trickery as he progresses around his first lap.
A little bit of wall bumping there from Dark Hyper. I think that gave Yafire a little bit of the advantage advantage going there through that double chicane. And it seems like, again, he's just maintaining this momentum, going through the corners, making sure to use Shockwave to get up to your top speed. We'll see this airtime. Ooh, and Yafire takes it way more cleanly than Dark Hyper. That's going to give him a massive advantage again, going into these couple of chicanes here, going towards the end of this first lap. It seems like Yafire definitely has that confidence brewing within him. He's wanting to take that momentum, carry it on for the grand finals. Dark Hyper trailing behind. Will he be able to make a comeback in this second lap?
Yeah, probably about a second and a bit behind. Head into the second lap now, but it's all to play for here. He does have a few opportunities here to try and break it, but Yafire is just so good. It's like I said before, the amount of trickeries he can perform, even the most difficult ones, that's part of his DNA. He doesn't really play that unsafe. And, you know, I saw it in practice mode. I said it to him as a joke when he was practicing. I was like, all right, do it on land. I was like, do it in tournament, see what and he actually is fair play to him. So he's, you know, he wasn't bluffing at all in the slightest. It is in part of not just his DNA, but the majority of the DNA's here as well. The jump there wasn't too great from Yafire. He didn't get any barrel rolls and got too much air time, so that slowed him down massively here. But you remember, there isn't really too much time left until this first race is done and dusted here, with Dark Hyper still on his tail.
Yeah, there we go. And you're probably playing a little bit safer, so not too upset about the barrel roll. Again, it's not going to cost him a wreck or anything like that, so that's kind of what you would prefer, honestly, for Yafire, is just making sure to keep that lead, not giving anything up. And for Dark Hyper, oh man, it was just close a little bit on that first lap, but as time went on, it just seemed like Yafire had all the momentum, and he crosses the finish line here for our first race in the grand finals.
Yafire making a statement, very clean, very crisp. Looking pretty good as always. We've had absolutely no reason to leave his screen with the performance he's been showing all weekend long.
No, 100%. I mean, this guy has just been a blaze, and, you know, if he goes out with a blaze of glory here, it's going to be quite interesting. Again, looking for his first tournament victory, whereas Dark Hyper been in the finals before and has a lot of tournament experience as well. So again, you know, veteran status for sure for Dark Hyper, but you would say, again, more on the recency bias status. You're sort of looking a little bit more leaning on the Yafire side.
And you got to remember, with Yafire, he hasn't won any championship, not even regional yet. So he's hungry. He's hungry to try and get himself that first win. And when you've got hunger like that, yeah, sure, you know, the line could always be staying on the top of the mountain, but he's been desperate. He's been eager to try and get this first victory here. And what a way to do it. Not just a regional, but onto a global stage like this. This will definitely be looking very good for his resume. Maybe the start of his repertoire of victories. You never know in the future.
Yeah, you never know. You could be like Nato and just win 2 in a row out of the blue, you know? I mean, he's definitely got the momentum to do so. And I mean, dude, he's just been doing some absolutely clean races. But here we go. Himalayas, can Yafire extend this lead here in the best of 7 grand finals, or will Dark Hyper be able to make a comeback and tie us up here early in the grand final series?
Himalayas, definitely one of the maps to do it in terms of breaching that gap or closing that gap, but we've seen Yafire, but sadly he makes straight away, trying to wall ride there, but it's just not to be. So all to play for now. I mean, this is the first time we're going to see Yafire from behind, so let's see exactly what shenanigans and mischief he's going to be up to.
Well, I think we got an answer to my question pretty early on. I was like, will Dark Hyper be able to make a comeback? And even a second wreck here coming out from Yafire, really uncharacteristic. Probably tried to make some crazy maneuver just to see if he can claw back the victory early on here. But Dark Hyper, even still, he's in first place. He's still going for these crazy wall rides. He's making sure that this lead is extended even further. Again, typically you'd see a lot of players just go immediate into safe mode, not putting any risk at all. But it seems like Dark Hyper, he is just flying towards the second lap.
Certainly is indeed. So far behind, though, he's wrecked twice, probably about 5 or 6 seconds. We always say it's near enough impossible at this stage. We need to witness some self-infliction coming out from Dark Hyper and wreck yourself some other ways. But you know me, Marth, I always wait until around the 90% margin, no matter how far away they are. So just to keep it cool, calm and collective. But it's such a shame, though, because I can understand why he went for that wall ride. And in all fairness, I've seen him do it all day. I'm not going to lie to you, and it's just probably the first time I've actually witnessed him not hit it, which is, yeah, very, very unfortunate.
Yeah, another wreck coming out there. But going back to that initial ramp ride, that rail ride there, that was the deciding moment. And you saw he was just on there for like a half second too long. You saw some like rocks sort of jutting out there, and I think that's what the car wrecked on. So it was so close. If he got off of it right then and there, you could have seen something different. He's still going for these crazy maneuvers. Dark Hyper taking all the risk, making sure that he cements his victory here, making sure to tie up this grand finals. So we're getting getting something spicy out of the gate. Nothing clean quite yet from the sweep, but it looks like Dark Hyper even doing some celebratory early 360s there. And yeah, Fire is not even on the mini map. It's Dark Hyper taking Himalayas here in our second track of the grand final, tying it up 1-1 as he crosses the finish line.
A clean mini map.
Backflips.
a bit of interesting verticality there. I was going through the ice tunnels, but you're right there. You know, sometimes you go show off a little bit, but with the 3 wrecks you saw there coming out from Fire, Dark Hyper, the world was his oyster at the point.
There we go.
But one apiece now, so we ain't going to get any clean sweeps, which is what we love to see as we head into the third race. And there should be a doozy once again.
There we go. We're getting ourselves a spicy grand finals. It's setting it up for sure. Not the most close race, especially for this one. I mean, it was quite early on that I think the race was pretty much decided. So I think Fire is definitely going to have that sort of momentum still going into this third one. I think he's probably just going to put in the back of his mind. You can see he's locked in. He's a very jolly dude out and about, but this time around he was so locked in. He looked like he had, everything to win here. So it seemed like hopefully going into this third track, he's going to maybe have a different mentality approach, different in terms of maybe taking different risks, different things like that. Dark Hyper, though, you got to have that momentum going in. Now you have the potential to take a 2-1 lead here in the best of 7 grand finals, and it is a little daunting. It's 7 races, no longer in the best of 3. We're not in Kansas anymore.
No, absolutely not. And another thing to talking point as well, we mentioned it in the interview, but not best of 3, best of 7 now. Yep. So he can freely take these risks. We say it before, it's in his DNA to, take these routes as he sees fit without really kind of any safety measures as he continues on. But you saw he's just trying to play as he does, but just wasn't to be. But it's only 1 track. It's still plenty more to go.
Yeah, and as we were talking about with Himalayas, there's just so many opportunities for those airspeed tricks. So not quite surprising that just that one little mess up is going to sort of decide the rest of the race. It seemed like, again, Fire was kind of going for as much as he possibly could after he wrecked, whereas Dark Hyper going for the normal ones. You saw the wall rides before if you watched Asphalt again. So it seems like he was just keeping a little bit more of that safe route, trying to ride the fine line between making sure he definitely secures a victory versus taking a little bit of that risk. But Fire was just wrecking over and over and over again, trying to pull out something special from the hat, but unfortunately it just didn't quite work out for him.
No, it is what it is. But I know you guys are probably asking for codes. More are going to keep coming. We're going to have more codes. Don't you worry about that. Just keep an eye on the chat. Make sure you stay tuned here. If you want more of those credits, blueprints, and tokens, I'm sure I don't know how long they last for, but maybe we'll have to see. I'm going to watch the entire one back. But yeah, so make sure you stay tuned and more will be coming up as well. And we said it before, going to say it again, if you guys want to come up onto the stage here, just like this one, all of these were average Joes, just like we are, and everyone else is here once upon a time. And if you guys want to get involved in qualifying for one of these tournaments in the future, make sure you head onto the socials, the website, and in-game for the events. Keep an eye out for those as well. Very, very important. And you saw a piece of history once again. It's been a real pleasure from Ferrari to, going to say it before, going to say it again, spoil us rotten here with the entire tour of the venue, everything here, all the Formula One vehicles you've got behind us. This is just literally a piece to the puzzle of what we saw here, and absolutely highly recommend it.
No, totally. There's a sparkle in the air for sure over here. There's aura, if you want to say that. There is, it's absolute cinema. There, I did it for you guys at home. You got it out of me. But yeah, there we go. I mean, it's been an absolute honor to be here in Museo Ferrari Maranello. It's just been amazing. You can see engine blocks here. They just have all the cool things, every car. It's just so awesome. But yeah, I mean, oh man, this series is just an absolute crazy thing because, again, this race wasn't really the closest, but here we go. Let's ignore those last races because we are now all tied up 1-1 in the grand finals. It comes down to San Francisco to see who takes the lead in our best of 7.
Yeah, indeed. I think I'm too old to say absolute cinema. I think it's probably classed as cringe at my age.
Ooh, different
Fire,
routes.
Lovely stuff here. Just taking it a totally different route, but that's definitely going to give him a couple attempts here, depending on how this drift is going to go. But this is looking brilliant. It's like you said before, Fire just bringing out a few, not tricks of the trade, but just some overzealous, not very common kind of strategies in terms of these routes and taking full advantage of it. Very risky, but you know what? It has given him the edge.
Yeah, taking the unorthodox route for sure. And we even saw him do that on previous San Francisco tracks. He's clearly been studying. He's clearly been cooking, but it may not be enough. Dark Hyper is right on his trail, right in the rearview mirror. He actually gets a little bit of top speed bonus there from going on that rail next to the bridge there. So it seems like, ooh, and even the inside line, he even gets a little bit of that. Shockwave out in the corner is going to give him another bit of an advantage. We're getting close to that second lap here. Seems like it's going to be close, but he actually goes for the different route. He's going to get extra airtime. He will, passing the lap number 1, going into the second lap. Fire just absolutely blazing a trail towards victory here. Going again more for those double barrel rolls. He's going to opt for that other route again. Now Dark Hyper copying the same exact route, and they're going to learn from each other here on the second track. Maybe Dark Hyper trying to take a page out of his playbook, but it doesn't seem to be doing much at all. Yafire still maintaining this lead.
Certainly has been indeed, and just looking at it so far, Dark Hyper still on his trail here as he's trying to close that gap. Great lines, great nitro management, great consistency here as they're going into this next jump. There isn't really too much time left here. Yafire looking good at the moment. Just a matter of time before he could potentially clinch victory in this first lap. Sadly misses out on the gold canister, but he had so much nitro in his back pocket. Dark Hyper didn't have to worry about that at all in the slightest, thanks to his brake nitro going through that tunnel. But has closed a little bit with a little bit of an inner gap going in. But as you can see, the final jump here as we now head towards the finish line, and that is going to be it. Yafire with a slightly better line at the end, and Yafire is now up 2-1 in this grand finals.
Oh, that was actually such an interesting race to watch. You saw the live adaptation from Dark Hyper, again, taking a little bit of a page out of Yafire's playbook, trying to make sure that maybe he can catch up by using some of his strats there instead of trying to go the opposite way. Again, Yafire pulling out a really unorthodox route there, going for that inside line, going for something that, while it doesn't have as much airtime as you would have hoped, you take advantage of the 499P Modificat's insane handling to make sure you can go around that track, technically shorter with that car. So what a great job by Yafire, making sure to study San Francisco and make sure that he can pull out some routes that we weren't expecting. And there you go. He's now up 2-1 in this grand finals.
I wasn't even expecting that. I was saying some silly little dad joke, and then when he pulled it off at the very beginning, I was just like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I'll let you crack on. But this is what I mean. It's this very, very, very small instances like that. Given that couple of attempts required to then be able to pile the pressure onto Dark Hyper to, you know, it's basically saying your move at this stage. But heading over to Scotland now into our fourth race, and we're going to see if Yafire's going to extend his lead or Dark Hyper's going to have something to say about it to try and equalize things to a piece.
Yeah, this is where it's going to be decided if we can tie it up yet again, if we're going to go all 7 tracks, or if it's going to be Yafire taking a 3-1. Actually overtakes above Yafire there. Dark Hyper now in the lead. He's going to have a little bit more nitro, making sure to get that shockwave ever so slightly. What an insane barrel roll by Yafire. That was incredible. Going to give him a little bit more nitro, doing some 360 to try to get that floaty drift. He executes it, but bumps into the wall. That's going to cost him dearly. Dark Hyper taking, again, another lead here into the first lap.
And he has done indeed. Probably about half to 3/4 of a second here, but Yafire just head over heels on his tail here. Just waiting for any kind of slip up or better refinements. A slightly better line coming out from Yafire there. Oh, lovely stuff. Ooh. Lovely jump as well to close the gap just that little bit more. And I'm sure Dark Hyper is very aware of that, just consistently checking his mini-map to find out the shenanigans and mischief that Yafire is up to behind him. But going into the second lap now, all smooth sailing here for Dark Hyper, but it's just a matter of how he's going to be able to maintain it.
Yeah, there we go, and we're looking at another tied-up scoreline there. And you saw throughout the first lap, it seemed like Dark Hyper just had so much more nitro to play with, was pulling out Shockwave way more often than Yafire. That allowed him to get out of those corners even quicker. Ooh, not quite good for the forced barrel roll, but it was close. Oh my gosh, is Yafire going to go for the Jaeger move that we saw previously? It didn't quite work out for him. He's going to have to pull it off excellently, and he just barely moves it off, but unfortunately leads him into a wreck. That's going to do it for this race. Dark Hyper playing safe, making sure he secures the lead. GG's, but this one, man, you got to give it to Yafire for at least attempting it. Same thing with Jaeger. If you got to risk it, you got to go for it, and there we go. He saw that he had the opportunity to do so, just wasn't quite close enough, and unfortunately didn't work out for him. But Dark Hyper going to be crossing the finish line here in a couple of seconds, tying up our grand finals 2-2.
Yeah, sometimes I say I respect to risk here and there, but it was literally a risk he just had to take. There's absolutely no other option at all. But that does mean that Dark Hyper has tied things up to a piece here in this best of 7, all to play for here, and just means a lot more asphalt action. Can't complain, can we, mate? Can't complain.
Not at all.
Can't complain.
Yeah, more cinema coming up for you guys. We are now tied 2-2. I got it. You know, it's the meme. Everyone's probably posting
I know.
The emojis.
It's the fad.
Everything.
It's the fad. It's the trend which is going on. I'll just stick to my broken English from the UK, and I'll let you guys crack on with the trends which all the kids are up to nowadays.
Yeah, I gotta go show 6-7. No, I'm not gonna do it. No. Yeah,
I barely even know that one. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, it's you know, bringing out the jokes here in the grand finals, but this one is shaping up to be an absolute legendary one. I mean, that was way closer than we saw before, honestly. That one, previous one, a little bit of the early wreck from Yafire there. This time around, it was on that second lap where he really tried his close to make it so. But here we go into Osaka. I don't think a track that we've seen often in this tournament, so it's going to be interesting to see if any of these players pull out something from the hat, from the little magic trick rabbit, to see if they have any tricks up their sleeve. Double barrel roll for Yafire, that's going to give him way more nitro, probably allow him to do Shockwave early. Yeah, there you go. You see him in the corner. They're both going for this airtime here, trying to cut across the track. So close by Dark Hyper, but just about recovers it, smacking into each other. That's going to lead to a lot of collisions there, but just close enough. They're going to knock on each other's doors, and just barely Fire pulls out on top.
Goodness me. It's only the first 30 seconds going into this matchup, and it's already going at it tooth and nail. Pretty much watching Destruction Derby at this stage with the collisions going back and forth. But this is exactly what you wanted to see. We didn't want to see just a single takedown and have to wait 2 minutes for the race. But no, of course not. We want to see these collisions go back and forth, and that's exactly what we're getting a true taste of here. Only a single barrel roll coming out from Dark Hyper, so it's going to slow down a little bit, but that rail helped him massively in the 360s. Not doing himself any justice at all. A big mistake there coming out from Fire, but he's very close behind him.
Oh, I thought he was going to overtake above. That was super close. This barrel roll is so important. Are they going to go through the rail grind? They're not. We have Fire on the overtake on the outside line with the shockwave acceleration. He does it. He pulls into the lead in the lap number 2. This is going to be insane. He has to maintain it now for the next lap in order to make it 3-2. This is everyone's game to lose. It is so close now. He's going to do a little bit of a different line. Again, going for the unorthodox play. Dark Hyper going the other way to the right side. Who's going to take the victory here? Seems like it's going to be a Fire ever so slightly pulling out ahead. What an insane move, maintaining the lead.
And you can see as well, he's probably about 3/4 of a second to a second ahead here. So he does have a little bit of wiggle room to play it safe here, but we know you're Fire. It's not really in his DNA, is it, at all in the slightest? And you can see Dark Hyper just continuing back and forth, zigzagging around these bends. But that last little bump there is going to cost him dearly in terms of the mileage going into it, and missed out on the rail as well. So that could be it here. As long as your Fire continues over these jumps safely and securely, then that shouldn't be too much to ask for here. One final jump to end it here in this 5th race and to take the lead, and now he is up 3-2 in the series. One more to take the Asphalt Series Championship.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Such an insane race. I would clap for myself too. That was absolutely crazy. No, that's obviously, you know, sportsmanship, clapping for the whole game, but I would clap for myself. That was such an unorthodox move from that inside line. We saw the exact same thing on the previous San Francisco tracks. Gave me a little thought in the back of my mind. Does he have it planned for anything else? Osaka is really well known for those tight corners, those like certain moves that you can pull off to get into that lead. And the 499P Modificata, again, crazy handling, really good nitro management. So again, you're not really concerned about that top speed. You're really more concerned about that inside line, those unorthodox plays, and your Fire brought that in spades. I was so surprised. That was an insane move by Fire there. I wasn't expecting it. Honestly, I couldn't quite know. But again, what an insane race. And here we go into potentially the last race between Fire and Dark Hyper. Only one track remains between Fire and the grand victory here.
Tournament point for Fire here. Let's see if he can be able to take it. Let's find out very shortly here. Nice shockwave now, just trying to use that initial jump to get additional mileage here. But Dark Hyper does manage to overtake. Only by a small margin, though, as you see Fire got a little bit more mileage in his favour. But the problem is the nitro's not in his favour. So he has to break nitro there to try and regain the amount of nitro lost there from that previous jump. Yeah, we can say this is going to be especially close, but we talked about this map quite a lot. Normally, when you're quite far behind, only by half a second or two, it's very hard to claw back, but that was the perfect way to now try and maintain this lead and secure victory.
That was it. All Dark Hyper had to do was block. All he had to do was play safe and make sure not to make any mistakes. Another 360 coming out, and Dark Hyper takes it right back on the inside line, crashing into the wall there. It's going to give Dark Hyper a little bit of a lead. I was going to start talking about how we might tie this up yet again, and it looks like that might be the case. Dark Hyper pulling into the lead here as another 360 comes out. Double 360. Inside line, Fire overtakes. We're getting close here, almost to the 50% mark, and Dark Hyper is in the rearview mirror now. It's Fire's game to play.
These accidental 360s, this is how much pressure these players are under. But Fire now, look how far ahead he is. He's about a second ahead now. And even if he doesn't break nitro, even if he just stays consistent around the track, he should be able to take it. But let's see how this is going to go, because we know with this map in particular, it's a long one, but there's very little wiggle room to try and close the gap. You can see how far behind Dark Hyper is at the moment. We could be seeing Fire's first ever championship victory.
And here in the city of love, Fire pulls out all stops. I thought he was going to give up at the very moment, getting us to a tie game, but he was doing everything in his power to make sure he maintains that lead, getting ever so slightly ahead ahead of Dark Hyper, and it's this time around we're going into the subway. Any little mistake yet again, we always saw that failed 360 a couple times from different players. We could see it out from Yafire, but I think it's just going to be locked in for this moment here. It is just the open runway between him and Victory. Gonna get that shockwave coming out here of the subway area. Takes that airtime. Dark Hyper is still very far behind. It seems like Yafire is going to take it. It's getting closer and closer to the victory. It's getting closer and closer to his first Grand Finals win here at Ferrari Esports Asphalt Series 2025. Going on to the barrel roll into the final chicane. Almost messes it up, but he just maintains composure, and Yafire will claim victory as he crosses the finish line.
Fantastic stuff from Yafire, your champion of the Ferrari Esports Asphalt Series 2025. And we must say, probably one of the most impressive showings we've seen in a very, very long time. Established in this meta in terms of the skill ceiling he's now shown. And now everyone else is going to have to try and keep up, as a lot of them have been trailing behind. But commiserations to Dark Hyper, put on a stellar performance overall and a well-deserved second place.
100%. That was one of the craziest Grand Finals I've seen in a very long time. But GG's, that was absolutely insane. Both these players played absolutely excellently. That was one of the best Grand Finals I've seen in a while. That was so close to the very end. GG's to both the players again for putting on an immaculate show. That was so intense to the last moment. You could see in the City of Love, it looks like Yafire bringing out that zest, that fire, that passion there as we moved into that last track here of the Grand Finals.
It certainly was indeed. And we did know that that map is notorious for, you know, being able to close the gap. But you could clearly tell the pressure. The 360, we saw, what, 2 or 3 from each player? Like back and forth. It was absolutely insane. We were a little bit worried in terms of how things were going to expect. We've got the man himself. Hello, mate. Do you want to? I was going to do the interview on the stage, but I could do it here if you want. Or I could do both. It's fine.
Sorry, I was a little bit shook there.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Well, it's probably the first type of emotion we've seen from you so far, because it's been so calm, cool, and collected. First obvious question. How does it feel to win your first championship, your first world title?
Dude, it's honestly unbelievable. Unbelievable to be here. I mean, I won it. I'm here. Holy crap. It's like a dream. It's like a dream. Like, all the people here, such good guys, man. They have brought so much to me, skills, etc. I've been learning from them, you know, and each of them gave me some skill, and now I'm here, somehow made it. So yeah, you gotta learn from the best to become the best.
And to beat the best as well, that's right. And it's funny because I've got a few interesting facts about you as well. I even made a few notes saying, like, coming into this competition, you had the lowest win rate out of any player, and it wasn't even close. I think that's going to change now. I think considering like the amount of races, considering the amount of players you actually beaten over the course of time here. But you must be just really relieved and so happy with this victory, because multiple times you've had a few second places, you had a few podium finishes here and there. But to finally get your first title, it really does feel like for you, surely, that all that time investment was worth it. One of the biggest championships on the biggest stage.
Yeah. It's been quite a trip for me. Tried my best all the years. Been looking up for this type of milestone. Yeah, man, proud to be here, and hope it's gonna go uphill.
I'm sure it will. Well, you're on top of the hill at the moment, but do you know what? A few more titles underneath your belt? Yeah, why not? Why not? Absolutely. But again, fantastic stuff here. Congratulations once again. We'll see you on the stage in a little while, and then we'll crack on with the awards very soon. Oh, yeah, GG's, absolutely. There we go. There we go. We'll, at least there's no awkwardness anyway. But yeah, honestly, what a great show. What a great event. The players, we said there's going to be no weak links to begin with, and we've had some extremely close series, and some matches was just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Probably the nicest way of putting it.
This was probably some of the closest racing we've seen in such a long time. We did see some of those wrecks here and there, especially like in that last one where it just seemed like just ever so slightly, even 1/360, right? Just that one little mistake is going to cost someone the race. Even the milliseconds, they just add up over and over and over again. It was absolutely insane to see these players battle it out bumper to bumper. It was intense the whole way through. We got a juicy best of 7 for you guys. I'm super happy to Fire. I mean, he's really been at it for such a long time, so congrats to him. And also commiserations to Dark Hyper. What an insane performance. 2 of the dark horses, you would say, for sure, coming out here. Taking a look at some of these replays here, you can see some of the moments that really decided some of these races here. You can see both of them trying to go for that rail grind. And again, Fire just ever so slightly just overstaying his welcome, crashing into the little pillar there that you saw. And again, yet another one where you see just insane rail grinding, trying to take advantage of it, just not quite working out for him in the end. But this guy is ambitious, right? And, you know, every once in a while you see that ambition. Sometimes it pays off. And in this case, it's a really good example of that. But sometimes you just wreck over and over and over again. But this time around, it seemed like Fire kept his composure, especially when he had the lead, exactly like here in San Francisco. So again, big congrats to both the players. They had some insane moments, as you were saying here, especially on Scotland, those crazy rail grinds as well. But then again, what just an incredible grand finals. We saw this almost Jaeger style type of overtake there on Scotland, just ever so slightly. But again, you have to be ambitious. You have to go for these insane moves because that's the meta now. All of these players are at the top of their game all the time. Osaka was one of the craziest, closest races we've seen, especially going from that lap 1 to lap 2. That overtake on the outside line was absolutely incredible. Again, GG's for all of these races. It was close. It was intense. And I'm sure you guys at home definitely enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more Asphalt Series because it's just going to get better and better from here because, again, going into this last track for Paris, we got to see that neck-and-neck battle. You can see on the mini-map they look like they're in the same location, but that 1-360, I thought, again, it was going to cost him, but it's the double one here that you can see that nailed the victory for Fire. He took advantage of it, and he made sure to grasp victory because that was insane. He had to take advantage of it. He had to make sure that he closed the chapter in this book, and again, just GG's to the grand finalists here.
That is right, indeed. I do have the podium finishes with me. Again, a big congratulations to all these players who've made it through the entire tournament, and you guys have put on an impressive performance for the entirety of the weekend. But before we give you your prizes, the Ferrari Esports Series manager, Rong, will be taking care of that for me to deliver the prizes, as we're going to start off with the 3rd place finisher. It is none other than Jaeger. And in 2nd place, only fell a little bit short, but as the LATAM representative, and you represented them very well indeed, it is none other than Dark Hyper! And the winner, the champion of the Ferrari Esports Asphalt Series 2025, it is none other than Fire! Honestly, all 3 of these players have put on a stellar show, but not only that, the rest of the players well in the community have done a job well done, even just making it here to qualify for the event. But not only that, though, we're going to have to say goodbye for now. I know it's a shame, it's the end of the year, but don't you worry, there'll be more tournaments coming up in the future, I can assure you. But for now, though, I will say a big thank you to the entire team at Ferrari, the Gameloft staff, everyone in production. Marth, I haven't forgotten about you this time, don't you worry about that. The players and you guys at home in the entire community and chat. Thank you very much, and everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you next year.